And welcome to Lake Garda. It's a beautiful location here. It's the largest lake in Italy. We're up here at the northern end for the 2024 Youth World Championships. I'm Jon Emmett and I'm joined by...
Hello everyone, I'm Lily Shilija. I'm former Olympian in the laser radio class and I also participate Youth Sailing World Championship back in 2005. We're very excited to bring you all the action here in Garda.
So this is day one of racing at Lake Garda. It's the largest lake in Italy, and yesterday the sailors were out on the water practicing on the practice race. So let's have a little look at all the action from yesterday.
It is the practice race day. Sailors got the final opportunity to fine-tune their preparations as well as get to know the venue a little bit more.
So hi, I'm Maria Rudovic, Poland 71. For now I'm rigging my sail. We are hitting on the water for a practice race. So yeah, I'm getting ready.
Will start tomorrow afternoon and we will have live streaming on World Sailing and FIP social media channel. See you there!
And welcome back to beautiful Lake Garda, and we have wonderful content coming up. If you haven't done so already, please do take the opportunity to share the feed, to like the content, and if you have any comments, they're more than welcome. We're going to be just showcasing our beautiful sport of sailing, and one of the things we want to do is just encourage more nations to take part. And one programme which I've had great pleasure to work with in the past is the Emerging Nations programme, and the aim of that is it doesn't matter what country you're born, the very best sailors get a chance to compete internationally. And here we have over 400 of the best under-19 sailors in the world. And on Friday, we're going to have some medalists.
Yeah, speaking of the Emerging Nation program, both Jon and I have been doing some coaching last year in the Hague World Championship, and it is such a great opportunity to give those extra support for those nations that are not so privileged to get the access for more sailing opportunity.
And the beauty is that the level has just increased and increased, and we now get to the point that some of the emerging nation sailors are going to qualify for the Olympics in their own right. We talked about the Hague earlier. That was the primary Olympic qualification. And that really is the first and the biggest opportunity for the sailors to qualify. There are some places which are especially given to Emerging Nations programme, because we want sailing to be a completely worldwide sport. And I just have to say now to any of the sailors who are competing in the event and watching this in replay, this is a really special event that I think you're going to remember for the rest of your lives. And other than the Olympic Games, it's probably one of the only events where you're the sole representative of your country. And I know sailors and coaches alike, they're probably having first race nerves as we speak, but we've probably got an opportunity to look at some of the interviews that we did with the Emerging Nations sailors before they took to the water.
It's been a one-of-a-kind experience where all sailors from all corners of the world join under one sailing program. And not only that, we in fact stay at the same venue where we laugh a lot, we play together, we share tactics and strategies on and off water, which helps all of us immensely. And I believe all of us have achieved a great amount from just meeting each other, experiencing each other's beliefs, and truly just bonding with each other at the end of the day, and have learnt a lot sailing wise and non-sailing wise. Sailing was first started in our school. It was done as a presentation towards our entire batch. Only 4 kids joined sailing in the end, but it has been a pleasure and maybe one of the best decisions I've made in my entire life.
So like my friends' parents were into sailing, and they were like a sailing family, and they invited me for like a camp during like opties, and so after that I used to come like every week. I think I like sailing because it wasn't boring.
How did sailing get me hooked? It's the technique, it's the skill, it's the effort you put into the sport in order to achieve what you can achieve. It's the countless possibilities that you have out at sea. The Emerging Nations program has introduced me to coaches and great sailors at world-class standards. Is hands down the best thing I've achieved in my sailing career. Enrolling in the Emerging Nations program and getting selected after a lengthy amount of selections, I believe. It's truly a one-of-a-kind program. I've learnt a lot from it, and I have in fact felt my sailing improved over the past few days, and I do hope that other sailors out there get to experience what I've just experienced.
The Emerging Nations program helps people like me who don't have like the ability to come easily for an event like this, and they basically provide us with everything, and it makes it so much easier for us to be able to compete. I would really like to go for the Olympics. From now on I'm trying to like gain experience, see what the world is like, and yeah, try and do my best to get there. It's been a dream since I was like a small child. When I started sailing, I started thinking of the Olympics.
Coming to the ENP as well as the ISAF Youth Worlds, it has truly showed me what other sailors are capable of and what I can be capable of if I work as hard as them, if the work ethic is there, and if my mentality is on point.
So absolutely great to hear from some very enthusiastic young sailors there, and I'm sure we're going to see lots and lots more of them in the years to come. Just a little recap of the event. We have over 400 sailors here. They're split between 11 classes, so we've got 5 different race courses, 5 different clubs. The idea is that each day we're going to feature one club. Today we've got the IQ foils, but the racing has already started. In fact, the first race is already finished, won by an Italian sailor. So I think we're going to be able to come and have a look at some of the 420 sailing, 420 little sister to the 470 in Olympic class. So let's go to replay. So we've actually managed to watch the first race here with the 420, and the Italian boat, who's just coming through the picture now, they won the very first race of the championships. Now, I do often think, I don't know what you think, Lee, but I think home field advantage in sailing is very important, and they must love racing in Italy at this major championships.
Yeah, obviously they spend far more time than sailors from other nations. They get to know more about the venue, so that's the advantage advantage as your home event, but at the same time, there are some downside. Maybe you get more pressure, because I still remember back in 2008 when I had the Beijing Olympics, I actually feel much more stressful than racing abroad in the country outside China.
But I think this will be a stressful event for all sailors and probably for the coaches. There's 160 coaches here, and normally the coaches would be on the water with the sailors in their own rib. It's a very special situation where actually all the coaches are lumped together, and that creates quite a lot of logistical issues. So you've got classes like the ILCA, which are a little bit slower when they've got a far race course. You know, they've only got 60 minutes to get there, and one of the functions of the coaches is often to give them a tow. So sailors, that time management, really important. But wow, that's a good lead there for Italy. I have to say, oh, we can see them already crossing the finish line. So we're gonna be going to interview soon. I have to say that Garda, it's just a very special venue. I did notice we've got a very big event just around the corner with the Olympic Games, but I did notice in the last 2-3 months quite a few top sailors have been using this as their training base. The reliable wind, it's July, it's over 30 degrees now, and wow, okay, so we've got the winners interview already.
Congratulations, what a start to these competitions. You just won the first race of the first day. How are you feeling, guys?
We're very happy because we got a good start on the fin end, and so we were already in front, and for the rest of the race we just kept our position.
Yeah, amazing, congratulations. So what is the goal for the next race?
Always, we have to do the best we can. The race is the same as yesterday, but we're pretty stronger, and we're concentrated, and we want to stay consistent.
Perfect, consistency is the key, so good luck and all the best. Grazie, ciao.
Well, they say you can't win a regatta on the first day, but you can lose it. But it's always good to start with a bullet, and they're obviously very happy with their performance. And the conditions today very similar to yesterday. We had the pilar, the gradient wind in the morning, 12 o'clock, flat, calm, nice sunny day. 1 o'clock the breeze started to come in, and now we have a beautiful view with the wind absolutely pumping. Okay. So we now go to interview with some of the Olympic sailors who will be racing in a little over 2 weeks' time.
Nico, you're one of the ambassadors of our beautiful lake. Why do you believe is this lake so special as a training ground, as a holiday destination? Why? What does it make so special to you?
Yeah, so Garda Trentino is, I think, the best place where you can train because it's every day windy, morning, afternoon. You can cycling, you have the mountain, the weather is always nice, and yeah, it's always windy, so come and have fun here in the lake.
So I think probably one of the biggest changes we've seen in sailing is the rise of foiling. So at Olympic Games we now have 50-50 with the Olympic classes foiling. We now have the foiling for the windsurfers, the IQ foil, and we're going to have a little chat with an Italian windsurfing legend who's been through all 3 classes. And I think it's really interesting, these skill sets, they just transfer, and then after that I think we're going to be able to go to the IQ foil. Sorry, after the interview I think we can go to the ILCA, who look like they're on their final downwind. So let's have a look at that interview, and thank you very much to Greta for catching up with the leaders.
We're here with Alessandra Sensini, the most known Italian windsurfer, 4 consecutive Olympic medals in a row. Ale, how is it for you to be back here in Lake Garda for this Youth Sailing World Championship?
Oh, it's great to be here. It's an event that we were looking for a couple of years, so we are finally here. We're really strong to do a good championship.
And what is your role during this week here?
I'll be a team leader as the technical director of the youth department. So I have 5 of coaches, Italian coaches. They are going to follow the guides in the water, and we are in all the classes except the kite foil women.
What does Lake Garda means to you? I mean, you've been here training a lot. It's actually a little bit your home spot as well within the years. How is it for you to be here, and what do you like so much about this lake?
Yeah, I know the lake very well. I have been training here for many years. I have prepared my Olympic campaign here between Malcesine and Torbole, and I won also the first World Championship RS6 in 2006, and it was amazing to win a World Championship at home because all my family was here and all my fans, so it's always a good feeling to win at home.
What would you give as a tip, as a recommendations to the youth riders who are on the water within these days?
This is a really cool championship for the youth. I always think that it's the start of a journey for them, and so I just I can say live the championship in all its parts, enjoy, go in the water, always push yourself, give the maximum, and for sure you will have a nice memory of these events.
So I think really echoing our thoughts there may be a little bit more pressure racing at home, but if you win at home, then that's a very, very special feeling. I've already said it before, I'm sure all these young sailors, they're going to remember this championships, and indeed they're likely to be racing against their friends and their rivals for the remainder of their sailing career. I mean, it's a very small world, and the people who are performing at youth level, they may well be the Olympians in 2032, 2028, and there's even, and we'll cover this later, some who are going to 2024. What do you think about that, Lily?
Yeah, obviously we have some really young IQ foil, so windsurfer as well as kite surfer. They've been to last year's Youth World Championships, and then now they are already getting ready to Paris Olympics. Wow, those young talent really showing the world that it is their stage and then it is their time to perform. And I think statistically there are a lot of youth sailing medalists going on to perform at the Olympics.
Absolutely. So when you look at junior sailing, I think it's very much about participation, and there's not necessarily strong correlation to senior performance. But as soon as you jump to that youth stage, the top sailors, they're already showing their head because they're the people who can deal with the pressure. And talk about pressure, that's a lot of ILCAs there. We can see an orange flag, so we're getting underway for the sequencing in this particular shot, and we already had it. Ooh! Cracking start from the Netherlands there. We already had it with the 420 winners. They just said how important that first start was. So you've got the boats from the left crossing, but actually a lot of the fleet want to go to the right in this aura breeze. So that's a trend we're going to see going on for the entire championships. If we're in this thermal breeze, the start is just going to be so important.
Yeah, and then you can see the right hand side course is more favored because it's closer to the shore. You get a bit extra breeze, more pressure towards the shore. And then, but at the same time, the race committee will probably try to make it harder for the sailors to heading to the right. So that's why we see many port tack boat, they cross the line and then just sail in front of all the starboard boat.
So do you think there's going to be some port tack flyers there, Lily? Because some of the boats, they won't tack as quickly as an ILCA, so maybe they actually choose to start on port.
Yeah, tacking is so important, and for ILCA, probably you don't lose that much speed compared with, like, say, NACRA or those multi-hulls. But still, you need very good skill to do those acceleration.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny as a coach, you say, you know, every boat length counts, every point counts, but actually every metre, every wave counts, because it's whether you can cross or not. And what we can see here on the right hand side looking upwind, there's just a little bit more wind as it gets funneled around the high land, and it means those sailors are just going a fraction faster and just gradually pulling away from their rivals behind. And actually here, keeping it simple and having clean wind is so important. I think these championships, that sometimes they're not actually really won, that they're lost by people making mistakes. So the upwind leg, it's often like people going up an escalator. If you make a mistake, you miss a shift, etc., you take one step down, but everybody's going up at the same rate. And here you can see the leaders after the first lap, they're really close, nose to tail, just a few bloke bumps between them. By the finish, that's all opened up. So we're looking at the IQ foil course, and unfortunately that flag, the AP attention pendant, which is the red, white, red, white, red, that is not our friend. That means we're not going to be racing the IQ foil. Maybe they're waiting for the conditions to settle. The sailors are already out there. They only have 30 minutes to get from shore to their race course for the IQ foil, which is actually where we're sat in our studio looking at the beautiful Lake Garda. And I don't know, literally, I'm feeling a bit jealous I'm not on the water.
You probably missed some coaching role, right?
Well, this is a very interesting coaching role, because all the coaches on the course areas are in one boat.
Yeah.
So you need to be good at shouting.
I remember this is such a unique tradition about the Youth Sailing World Championship, where all the coaches sitting in the same big boat all together. I don't know how much they chat to each other, but then back in the evening, we actually got some clinics, and then we got the open coaching from some coaches invited by World Sailing or the local event organizer. And then that's really the beauty of the youth sailing, like the help those youth sailors can get to equip themselves for the future challenge is just golden opportunity to be here.
I mean, I can tell you, Lily, coaches generally chat quite a lot. You need to be quite a talkative person to to do commentary, I guess, or to be a coach. But the idea is very much to build well-rounded sailors. Sure, we're going to move now just to look at some of the racing with the IQ foil, and this is obviously the practice race, not part of the series. And it's interesting here at the youths that we had lots of practice racing. Most of the sailors finished, because there is a little bit of superstition about not doing well in the practice race and about not finishing. But what would you say to that?
Well, yeah, I think to start with, in those early years, probably you had the habit of, practice race, make the most of it. Why not finishing it and do it properly? But later on, as you get older and probably your recover is slower as well, you want to preserve the day before actual racing to fully recover yourself. So maybe later on, they will skip more marks and then not even doing the practice race.
So we're getting ready for a start here. Let's just go and look at some of the previous recorded footage. The sailors, they look pretty happy and relaxed. So let's have a look at our video.
So hi, I'm Maria Rudovic, Poland 71. For now, I'm rigging my sail. We are hitting on the water for a practice race. So yeah, I'm getting ready. My setup for today. I don't know if I can say that actually. But yeah, I just want to go more for like speed. So I will make my sail just like faster, like yeah.
What are your favorite tunes to get you pumped for these events?
Yeah, I listen to some techno.
Some techno, so
just like without any words, just to clear my mind.
My name is Idris. I'm from Tunisia. This is my first competition in class IQ foil, and I am very, very happy.
Hi, I'm Kai, a surfer for Aruba, and I'm rigging my sail, getting ready to get out, and yeah, I'm ready for the practice races, get some fun in, and yeah, I'm excited. My perfect setup, I reckon I put some more downwind, so the wind can release better and I go faster. And yeah, just try to get the perfect setup for this kind of wind.
Yeah, I'm from Turkey and I came here to present my country in IQ foil. And also today the conditions are looking very good and nice, and I hope we had some nice conditions also at the practice race also.
What kind of music are you listening to hype yourself up?
May I check name? This is like a piano song. It's the Hall's Moving Castle. My plans for the session is to have a short and like a 1 hour session and just practicing the technical things and just checking my stuff.
So today we had a practice race. These conditions are like amazing. I just came from Embrun, the European Championships. Like this wind like brings me joy. So able to sail like all the time. I know how to say it, like amazing, yeah.
Well, I thought there were some very wise words from young sailors there, and actually there's a lot to be said just for keeping it simple, for having a fixed routine that keeps the stress away. And actually they talk about speed, but speed just makes you a tactical genius. If you're fast, it's easy to get away, and if you have a bad race, speed can be your saving grace. And that's why getting to learn a venue and knowing how to go fast in that venue is so important. For some of these sailors, it might be their first time on Lake Garda, whereas when we look at the Olympians, there's hardly someone who hasn't done a major championships here. And that is the beauty of sailing. You have a place like Lake Garda where we have the wind and the short chop. The Olympic Games, you may have had a swell-based venue, so that's why sailors are always trying to optimize their time for their key championships. So if I was coaching these young sailors, I would have just said spend your summer in Lake Garda and you'll have boat speed for free. Just feels like the aura hasn't actually arrived on the IQ Foil racecourse yet. So I think we could talk a little bit about the event as a whole. And it was interesting talking about the debriefs and things. When I went into the hall at the end of the racing, it almost felt like the Olympic Games, with everybody sat there in their team kits, all sitting there, eating together, chatting about the day. And the thing with having 5 racecourses, there's always some racing, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you can see the ILCAs there already jumping upwind. And I just have to say, for anyone looking at home, if they doubt that, say, sailing is a sport, it's actually very hard to overestimate the physical requirement to make any sailboat sail fast in medium to strong winds. And yeah, my legs are hurting just looking at that. Do you miss your hiking days, Lily?
A little bit. It is quite painful to hike on those ILCA boats, but at the same time, the simplicity of this boat and then purely focus on your techniques and tactics still attract a lot of people in the world. And you can see those young sailors, they're already pretty good in their tacking techniques, like big tacks. I remember back in those days, Jon, you taught me really big tacks. So yeah, that's something still serves as a great memory in my mind.
And it looks like they're getting close to the women mark, and the Greek girl is doing a really, really good job here of just covering the fleet. You've got that positioning there just to defend the position, and you can almost see that when one boat tacks, it almost looks like a dance when they will go for the next tap. We're getting pretty close to this ley line here, and it looks surprisingly shifty for this wind direction. What do you think?
Yeah. While we are talking here in the club, in the north of Lake Garda, we actually feel pretty good wind. And then slightly further away, where is the ILCA class, they got okay, probably 10, 12 knots of wind. Whereas the IQ Foil, which is slightly further away down south, they actually have less wind, so that's why they are
waiting for wind.
I
think that's the problem, whether it's the wind speed or the wind direction. Obviously, being a foiling boat, we need to have enough wind to foil, and I think that's important. It's such an important event to make sure the racing's really fair. But you look at the ILCAs, they're doing a lot of tacks, and so I think we could just stay looking at the ILCA.
Yeah.
People are going to accuse us of bias here, but I always think the close racing is just really good to watch. And you can see with the wind range that the boom is very low, the kickers on hard, and they're already fully extended flat hiking. And as soon as you're into that fly hiking mode, it's a lot of work. But the boat handling, it's quite hard with the kicker cranked full on. And I said these are genuine athletes. I think the reason I'm so passionate about the ILCA, we talked very much about the Emerging Nations programme and opening sailing up to not just, you know, the top 19, 20 countries who have the budget to do big Olympic teams, but anyone anywhere in the world. So you can be living on a small island and you can jump on a plane and you come here. Everybody's got supplied equipment for the ILCAs, and we should say thank you very much for the sponsors.
Host. Yeah. That's a great event for all the youngsters who wish that's in their dream list. And then actually Garda is a paradise for foiling, boats and boards. It's just a little bit pity that at the moment we don't have enough wind in the IQ foil courses, but for those ILCAs they actually got excellent wind. But in terms of flat water, it's still quite choppy, quite difficult, quite bumpy for our bows, right?
Absolutely.
So you need those aggressive movements in order to reduce those chops, which cause the loss of speed.
Absolutely. I mean, the harder you work, the faster you go, and it's not only the aerobic fitness. I mean, a lot of the sailors will be spending as much time on as a bike as they do on a boat.
Or a hiking bench.
Or hiking bench, if you're a real glutton for punishment. But it's interesting that the Greek sailor is a little bit below ley line and just waiting for pressure to come across. Whereas maybe places 2, 3, 4, they're quite up and close to the ley line. And these final moments coming to the mark can make a huge difference. And I said in terms of making sailing more accessible, I think that the ILCA does a great job. But with logistics, kite surfing, you can take your equipment on a plane. Maybe 20, 25 kilos of luggage, and you can just go around well. Because for a small island nation, this idea of having boats and containers and things can be difficult. So I think the ILCA does a great job at just making sailing open to the world. And for sailing, we're really lucky that you can actually line up and race against Olympic champions, whereas in a lot of other sports you just wouldn't have that opportunity, and everyone's in the same equipment. What I really like is in terms of watching the racing, these flags, it makes it super clear. And on one of the other days we're going to be looking at the 29ers, and the big brother, the big sister for that is the 49er Olympic Games. And you'll see when they go round that windward mark, the spinnaker pops up, and it's a beautiful sight with the national flag on it. In fact, if you look at the kite surfing at the Olympic Games, they will have the country codes. So with the 29ers, when we cover that course, folks at home, you're going to have to remember your host country, what colour spinnaker they have. But for the ILCAs, it's all very simple. And I think now we're coming to that final stage on the reach, that the gaps for the few sailors, I think they're probably big enough. We're not going to see so much place changing now. So it's about being consistent. But what has happened, because the aura isn't so strong, the wind is more patchy. And we've just got amazing footage here where you can see the darker the water, the more wind. And the sailor, you know, you've got your head out like an owl, just looking for that more pressure, because right up to the point you're overpowered, just the more wind, the faster you go. We have a Ukrainian boat coming in here looking for the gap. So within 3 whole lengths of the windward mark, high risk reward. But
this is quite risky, so you need to be super careful not to infringe the rules. 13, tacking, you need to be keep clear, not only as a port tack boat, but also as a tacking boat until you are close hauled. So
and
we can
that's
see
very important as well. It's close haul, not proper course. It's close haul.
Yeah.
And people here may well tend to overstand the ley lines a little bit if they're clinging to that right hand side. But I mean, you're going to see the top 10 boats finish within less than a minute.
It looks like many boats overlaid, or that's the reaching.
This is why the leaders get rich, because the leaders will have clean wind. They can sail when they want. The Greek sailor did a great job of not hitting the ley line too early and not sailing any extra distance, because if your boat or board doesn't go faster, then there's no point sailing extra distance. So if they're already at full speed, but it's interesting, it's light here, the weight is forward in the cockpit, the weight is inboard, and you can just see that look around, not much. She's looking around for a little bit more pressure. So you may see the sailors behind fighting and almost sailing a big banana as they try and climb up to get to the wind, and that just allows the leader to escape. But this is day one, and it's a consistency sport, so it's not about how many races you win, it's about your average score. But I think Greek sailor would probably feel pretty confident. Nobody else on screen at the moment.
So now we can see the wind still quite patchy. Sometimes, like at the windward mark, actually she got great breeze, but as she approaching downwind mark, seems she's keep looking backwards to look for more pressure. So that's very important when you sail upwind, you look forward, and then when you sail downwind, you actually need to look over your shoulders to look for more pressure.
Well, you're always basically looking upwind in the slower boats. That's right, isn't it? The fast-moving boats, the IQ foil, where you're actually going similar to wind speed.
You could
be
see
looking in front.
the wind dropped so much on the right-hand side of the screen.
I think the leader's looking pretty safe in this angle, but you never know what's going to happen, because by definition the wind will fill in from behind. In fact, the two fleets look relatively close together, and that can be tricky if the leader of one fleet meets the tail end at Mark II. And I can say from personal experience, this does happen. This does happen. We're all sailing the ILCA 6 here. When you look at the Olympic Games, the men will sail a slightly larger rig, which is common in a lot of Olympic classes. So that's why it's the ILCA 6 and the ILCA 7. So the ILCA 7 is approximately 7 metres of sail area. ILCA 6 approximately 6 metres sail area. I think it's 5.76 for those purists at home. But comments always very welcome, because people will watch this video in replay. But even if you've got that lead, it's still a bit of a nervous time, and we can see those boats on the right of screen just sort of fighting a little bit, and the leech is looking very hard on those boats where they probably haven't realised quite how much the wind's dropped.
I think if you get a bit of lull, it's very important to adjust your equipment, your rigging accordingly as soon as possible. Not leave your settings as you were sailing in the gusty wind.
Or in a perfect world, to change it just before it happens. Being a proactive.
Because you can see the pressure or in the lull or a bit of in the hull. So you can see the differences in the colour on the lake.
So the leader's going to extend now. What do you think there? Look,
I think
quite comfortable.
Well, obviously she get the most fresh air, and then she wouldn't be bothered by the dirty air, and it's final downwind, so she could sail her own race. So that's why the leaders tend to extend their leading distance, right?
And probably on the next leg she will be able to sail a straighter line to the course. I do wonder if there's going to be a jibe put in at this next mark. I think the mark's just out of screen, but I think, you know,
it also feels the wind has changed to the right a little bit. Looking at this reaching angle, it's a bit close to downwind already.
Yeah, so that's actually really quite hard by the lee, and the concern for the sailor is whether they're going to get covered by people who are actually in a different race as other people come round and put a jibe in. So I think this is actually a very good strategy, just to keep away. So I think we've got Greta out on the water. Perhaps she's in a better position just to tell us what's going on. I'm sure she can fill us in with some insight. Over to you, Greta.
Du sagst mir wann.
Looking close to the race course.
And it's race day. We're here on the water. We can see in the background the ILCA 6 is racing. So for the men, we have the Dutch team leading, Dutch, Holland, the Netherlands leading. And for the ladies, we have Greece leading at the moment. We're here on the lake. It's about 6 to 8 knots. It's a quite light aura day, but we're fully on. Everybody's exciting, and we're getting the first races under our belt. Afterwards, we will change into IQ foiling. The guys are already on the water, getting ready. So stay tuned.
Oh, thank you so much, Greta. And it just shows that Dutch start, it was literally a race-winning move. And we can see here the Greek sailor, if we have the overhead shot, will be doing almost a straight line to the next mark, whereas all the other sailors are going higher and higher, sailing that huge banana. And I think a lot of extra distance. But it's easy to get sucked into the crowd, isn't it?
So at this downwind leg, you got the option either to sail by the lee or sail closer a broad leach. What's your recommendation?
Well, without going too much into the physics of it, that the by the lee is probably the fastest point of sail dead downwind, because your mast is now acting as your leach. If you could look in closely at those telltales, you will see that they're actually pointing from the leach of the sail to the luff, and by definition the mast is the firmest leach you can have, so it's actually a more powerful way of sailing. You can see there's even 5, 6, 7 knots. There's marginal surfing, possibly with the media boat.
Waves of the river.
But she's extending. There's the constant look behind, but most boats will actually sail most of the time the fastest with minimal corrective steering, and by that I mean if you're correcting the direction the boat goes by pulling or pushing the rudder, it's effectively a brake. So if you can sail by the wind and have a small amount of windward heel, if you're going in a straight line, you can let the tiller go and the boat would just carry on, that minimum resistance. And you know that as a coach, when you tow, if your sailors just follow along behind, you can tow much faster than if they keep on zigzagging. The thing here with this waveform app, we're doing little changes of angle, and you can see just how much is extended from the boats which went around the mark at the same time. It's almost like you're looking in these marginal conditions in front of you and try not to run into the waves. It's like running along and try not to run over some little hills. You're looking for the flat path on the orienteering. Whereas if we do have those 20 plus knot days, we will be looking at going over the waves. But today I think it's very much minimising the gap, and I can't even see where the nearest rival is.
I would highly recommend a wind indicator on top of the mast, because either sailing by the lee or sail in broad reach, the indicator on the top, because that got the most accurate wind direction, and then by looking up the wind indicator, it gives you more accurate sense of where to sail to and get the best out of your VMG. So that's what I use a lot. Probably many people having a wind indicator in the front of your boom.
And that wind indicator lower down, what's that one to tell you?
Well, I just feel it's so common to get lost because of the starting, and then when you are closer to other boats, and then the format of the laser, the ILCA sheeting, it's very easy to drag your wind indicator in front of the boom, whereas on top of the mast, it's safer and also it's more accurate. But what's the use of the other indicator?
Well, some people, they like to have a wind indicator on the bow, and basically if that's pointing at another boat, you know that other boat's giving you dirty air. But as you say, that it's very vulnerable to a passing ILCA main sheet pulling it off.
I remember. Yeah, I also used to have a wind indicator on the bow, and I just found it easier for my neck, because if you have that on top of your mast, you constantly need to look upwards, whereas in the bow it's actually even better, but you have the disadvantage of more likely to lose it. So quite often I prepare 5 wind indicator always with me wherever I travel.
I actually think I still have 10 Chinese flags and 10 wind indicators at flat in Weymouth, but we won't mention that too much. But the sailing now, you need to think that wind, it's very much like water, or if you imagine it was a person, it's very lazy. It looks for the easiest route. You look at rivers, they never tend to run straight very long unless they're man-made. They always wiggle around the softest earth, and it's like a lazy person. So rather than going over an object, it will tend to go round. So what happens when you have a group of boats together, they actually end up effectively in less wind as the wind goes around. And that's why with the topography here, Garda is such an amazing venue, where all the normal wind models would say you have 3-4 knots. You know, we've got 7-8 knots because the wind is just funneling around the highland, because it doesn't want to go over those beautiful mountains we have in the background. But it looked to me that Spain and Italia, they were also trying to do that more or less straight down wind route, but it has got very mixed up, the two fleets, so it's hard to see exactly what's going on. I mean, here you're just looking at keeping it super smooth. You keep your weight forward, because one of the other things we haven't talked about yet is Rule 42, and this is a very special rule in sailing, and I was struggling to think of another sport that has a rule like Rule 42, because what you've got is a rule that applies, for example, to ILCAs all the time, and then to some classes it applies none of the time, and to some of the classes it applies some of the time, and we'll wait for an Oscar flag.
As we can see now, the ILCA 6 men's fleet, the boys fleet, has already finished. Who's the leading boat?
So I think the Dutch boat more or less raced the lead from where we got. See if maybe Greta can grab them, but
For an interview.
More or less led the race from start to finish. And you just had that with the start. There was that little sag in the middle of the line, meaning those boats on port could cross. And I do wonder with some of the faster boats where we'll see a high percentage of the fleet starting on port, and I include the cats in that because they do struggle somewhat to tack. Now this is an interesting situation here.
The coach's boat.
There's a lot of people there. Can you talk to your sailor without the other people hearing? I was chatting to some of the coaches on shore, and they said it's an interesting regatta for them, but believe me, the coaches will be feeling a lot of pressure as well as the sailors. And I think this is why your preparation, I wish I could lip read what they're saying, this is why your preparation before is so important. So you know that your boat handling is good enough. It's at least as good as everyone else. You could tack or jibe when you want for tactical and strategic reasons. And as I said, boat speed makes you a genius. And especially at the start of the race, just 1 or 2 meters, the difference between crossing or having to tack or duck can make a massive difference. And I think they're lucky here that the wind looks like it's filled back in, or maybe this is just the area we are on the race course. What we have here, especially for Brit, is a wonderfully warm day, over 30 degrees, and that means there's a lot of thermal mixing. So when we talk about stability of the mixing of the air vertically, which is very different from the shift, which is the horizontal wind direction changing, and that vertical means that you could be 3 boat lengths away from me, Lily, and we're both in completely different wind. So that's what we talk about with pressure, where there's an area where there's more or less wind, as opposed to the gusty conditions where it's coming down the course. But for both, and I know it's a cliche, head out the boat, very important.
Yeah, I think it's actually quite tricky for those sailors after finishing to stick close enough to have a good conversation with their coaches. But obviously it's very important to do some debrief and then to have a plan for the next race. And we could see this Dutch boy constantly pointing to the left and the right and then communicating with his coach, but at the same time feeling is equally important, right? Have some drink. With such hot temperature, it's very important to keep drinking, to keep yourself hydrated, so that you could still keep focusing for the next race also.
I'm really, really proud that you said it's important to talk to your coach. That's good advice.
It looks like we have some good wing on the IQ foil course.
I think the problem, if you look, is actually there's a wind line where the wind stops, so it's not constant over the whole course. And this is why some classes like the Star will have a wind limit where you need to have at least 7 knots, because it's often not to get to that point that you have over 5 knots over the entire course. And the topography, I think, just struggling to get the wind in the entire course, so I don't know whether they're going to stay there and wait, or they put up L and then move across. So I think Greta has managed to catch up with the Dutch winner. Are you there, Greta? Over to you.
As we can see, the Greek girl is winning in the girls' fleet. And the wind here is much better than the reaching after the wind warm-up, isn't it?
This is the scary thing for the Greek girl, when you had the whole fleet behind you, and the wind's filling in from behind.
You need to work out who's your real rivals.
Yeah, so I think Antigua there was very definitely in a different race, but their sail still covers yours if you get stuck to each other. So I'm hoping Greta will have a chance to chat to Dutch. So maybe he's still keen to talk to the coach. I think possibly the real debrief will be done on shore. But Greta, have you managed to grab our sailor?
Hide, congratulations! What a victory! How are you feeling after this race?
Thank you, it was great. I had a good start, but it's very tricky racing at the moment, so just looking forward to the next race.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, how do you feel about sailing here in Lake Garda with this amazing background? I mean, have you been here training recently a lot?
Yeah, I've been training here for a week, and it's been great every day. Wind every day, nothing wrong with the wind, always sunny. It's great here.
So what can we expect next from you?
You don't expect a lot, but we'll just get a good start again like last race, and we'll see how it goes. It's very tricky today.
Good luck, all the best.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, back to you to the studio, guys.
Actually, the one who started on port tack at
Absolutely.
the pin end.
I think he pretty much tacked on the whistle, which is a good coaching exercise.
Yeah.
And that being on port, one of the first boats on port, was a race-winning strategy. I mean, it's funny. We're sat here in the studio, but I raced against that particular young man at Kiwi, and these sailors, you know, it's not only they perform here, but they perform wherever they go, and it's very interesting again that, you know, he spent that time.
Let's have another look at this start.
He spent that time in Garda, and
Wow.
he nailed the pin. It's hard to tell from this angle, but maybe if he didn't tack, he wouldn't have crossed the line. And he's working super hard. If you look, the kick is on, and he's extended that upper body, and
Yeah.
just explosive as the tack was just joy to watch.
Yeah,
These boats here by the committee boat who are tacking now, I would say they're in a lot of dirty wind, and it's going to be hard for them to progress from there.
Maybe not dirty wind, but it all depends on whether they can have a right hand shift before they can cross over in front of the pin end boat. But obviously that's quite tricky.
So we've got the whole running order. I think you folks at home can probably read it as well as I can. But the sailing, it's a consistency sport.
Yeah.
So I would imagine to finish on the podium, you're not going to be counting anything worth than a 10th place, and you know it can be hard if sailors would OCS or have a poor first result, and that puts a lot of pressure under them. But we've seen it at the Olympic Games and the Youth Worlds where people have recovered. So I think, you know, the Dutch sailor put it very well. That one race, next race as it comes, and that starting will be the key. Now, whether his rivals are going to give him enough room next time on the pin end, we shall see. I think with the IQ foil, that's the IQ foil, I think they must still be waiting for wind. And if you look at our backdrop here, there's plenty of wind here up on the shore, and that's why we have all these sailing clubs up in the north of Lake Garda. And yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic place to train. Do you have some memories of Garda?
Yeah, I remember I raced the Italian Olympic week or something every March, and it was bitterly cold. And unlike here now, July is much hotter and warmer, much a nicer month to be here. And I remember at that time you taught me to be consistent, conservative, and in controlled aggression. Consistent, yeah, it's not about winning a single race. It's about having a consistent regatta over the whole week, like say 10 races. But this event we have 9 races for the yokers. And then conservative is not to take too much risks. Like the start, actually the Dutch boy, I quite agree. His strategy, he was planning to start at the pin end on starboard tack, but then maybe there's a sudden shift to the left and then allows him to do the tack onto port, and then cross all in front of all the fleet.
So I wonder if everyone, being the first race, was just that little bit more conservative. But it's really good that you remember the 3 C's, because it doesn't matter if you're an Optimist sailor or sailing a America's Cup boat. I mean, sailing is sailing. And that's the skills they learn, and also the mental side of it, because he has the weight on his shoulders. He's the sole Dutch representative in that event, and he knows there'll be a lot of people watching at home wanting him to do well. And yeah, that was probably one of the most important tacks he's done of his life so far. But this controlled aggression, I think one of the reasons it's so important in sailing is there's so many variables beyond your control. You know, you think you're... so we've got an interview coming up with the women's with a Greek girl who sailed a very, very good race and must have had the added pressure and unexpected pressure of ending up racing against some of the boys as well. But we over to you, Greta.
I am here with one powerhouse of a girl, Elmioni, who just won race number 1 of the ILCA female. Elmioni, congratulations. Give us some insights from this race, please.
Yes, thank you. So I had a good start and then I went to the right. And yeah, I just did a good downwind and then it was just keeping the fleet behind me.
Very well done. So how high is your heartbeat? How high is your excitement level right now?
It's not very high because every time when I race I cancel everything and I don't care if I'm first, I continue with 0 because it's only the first race, it's nothing.
Okay, but still, anyway, it has been an amazing start. Good luck and keep pushing.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Jon and Lily, back to you to the studio.
Thank you so much. You've obviously got a cool, calm and collected sailor there. And it is interesting with the heart rate and looking after yourself. I mean, the Tokyo Olympic Games, it was really, really hot and humid, and one of the main jobs was to keep the sailors physically cool so they could think. But I think we're going to hear that a lot. How did you do? Good start, managed to go right. But it's never that simple because everybody else in the fleet wants to do the same. And that risk reward, it's really, really crucial. Now, these sailors here, I think that the IQ foil, they must be really keen to race, but at the moment, just doesn't look like quite enough wind for them to get going. So whether it will hold or not, we will see. It's going to be marginal. And what we're going to see now is really, really high pressure on the manoeuvres. Because if you do a bad manoeuvre, you're no longer foiling and the whole fleet can go past. So we're going to be looking at any of the boats, if their speed suddenly drops to around a knot, we know they're in the water. And then it's a lot of effort to pump the boat back up, get it flying. And I think what we'll see is sailors will be trying as much as anything to just keep in the pressure. So we'll be looking at the starting. It's going to look a bit different because of the time on distance from the ILCAs. So the ILCAs tend to line up very close to the line. They're only going 4.5, 5 knots upwind. They get to full speed or 90% of speed very quickly. Whereas the faster the boat, the more, for lack of a better word, run up they need. So when we look at the start here, it's going to be interesting to see how far away from the line they go. So we've kept it really simple. If you look at the numbers on the boat, this is race course D, you can see exactly how long we've got to the start time. And a lot of the sailors here, I suspect, will be considering starting on port.
Yeah. For the slalom racing, the target time is only just 4 minutes. So after the start, it's a series of reaching or downwind and then finish.
Yes, really, really good point. So actually, the IQ foil, it's effectively 3 different events.
Yes.
And people
Normal
who think
race.
this is something new, actually this has been the core of windsurfing, different disciplines of windsurfing
For a long time.
Forever. But can you talk through the 3 events and then it'll be time for the slalom race?
Yeah, the countdown is under 2 minutes. So what we are having now is the slalom racing after the start. It's like a reaching start. And then you have a few jibes and then you finish within probably 3 to 4 minutes.
We need to talk fast. So that's the first one. We've got slalom racing. What's the opposite of slalom racing?
Oh, that's just a normal course, like what we have, the inner course or the outer loop. So that's normal race will count as a single race result, whereas this slalom racing depend on how many heats they have.
You see, I think it looks to me like they're off. This is that looked to me very much like a start.
They started.
So that what I was going to say, I think the opposite of slalom race. This is amazing. So this is a new experience for Jon and Lily.
Yeah.
Then they obviously need to get properly wound up with over a minute to go just to stay on the foils. I remember watching the Yinglings, which was a slow keel boat, when they raced the Olympics. It was hard to tell when they started because there wasn't that big difference in speed. Whereas these, wow, the difference between foiling and not foiling is huge. But just before we go and start the slalom, I was going to say the opposite. They do a marathon race. So for them, a really, really long race. And I guess the race committee will think very, very hard about what day that is. But it almost felt like they all raced to the left, stopped, line up, and now we're going to see them racing back to the start line. I feel like that Irish commentator video which went viral.
So final 10 seconds countdown, we could see all the IQ foil sailors there on their foil. Good enough wind to keep them off the foil.
And the pumping starts.
Woo! Is that a clean start?
I think that was a clean start. I mean, it's always hard to tell.
I think it's better to start on the leeward side, so... Oh, maybe not, because on the windward side,
on the angle.
The angle
to
of
the first mark will be key, and this is one of the things with the Olympic format. Actually, with the qualification, you don't necessarily want to be winning the regatta. You want to do as much racing as possible near the final, so you're really dialed in about the fastest angle. So it does look like the windward boat is slowly rolling over the top here, and you see how you have that windward heel, which is just generating more foil.
This is the first jibing mark, but it seems they keep sailing in downwind.
Yeah, so the next mark they're going to be putting in a jibe, and I say these are high pressure moves.
It's
one
really
mistake and wow, that's going to be
speed.
hard. And you can see the pumping. That just looks like a lot of hard work to me. You need a good, strong core for that. I'm going to say it again for the folks at home.
Ooh.
It's hard to overestimate just the fitness requirements for any of these classes. And Estonia
that's
just
a beautiful
makes it look
jibing,
easy.
isn't it?
What was that, 21 knots? I do want to say, though, that speed is your friend. So actually, the faster you're going, the better or easier it is to go through the manoeuvres.
But at the same time, your adrenaline is so high, you probably fear the most when the speed is high. But that's something we need to conquer when we want to keep the foiling while jibing or tacking, right?
Well, I was talking to Dorian van Nistelrooy's coach, and the Dutch have a very good record in windsurfing.
Yeah.
Is it 3 consecutive gold medals? I mean,
in the last 3 Olympics, they
just
won
amazing.
The windsurfing.
And he said that you need to enjoy being scared. That's how you perform well in high performance classes.
Wow.
You've got to enjoy being scared. Because before that, I would say you just need to accept it. But actually, if you can go and say, well, this is what I love, then that makes it so much easier. So to any of the potential ILCA sailors out there, I hate to tell you this, but you've got to learn to love hiking, because that's going to make the difference.
So it looks like they are crossing the finishing line in how many minutes?
I mean, that's a short one more jibe, and then they will be back at that finishing line that just went out, overshot.
The final mark, final jibe.
All the pressure.
Ooh. Oh, it's so beautiful to watch.
And nailed it.
I'm actually quite surprised that many sailors, like sailboat sailors, they are now more interested in windsurfing and foiling surfing.
I think there's a lot more follow on than you might imagine. I mean, actually, with kite surfing, I see a huge number of ex-ILCA sailors doing that. And from the UK, I know our own Ellie Aldridge, she came through 2029. It's a very traditional route. And actually, the other way around, a lot of the top dinghy sailors will go windsurfing, kite surfing,
so
winging,
Estonia,
just for fun. So those guys, they can breathe for life. But I think it's a 4-race day. Unless there's been any change to the schedule, so it's still very much about consistency for these guys and not much time for a rest.
And this is only just a heat 1. We'll have a heat 2.
I mean, the race is so short. I think we're going to be on lots, and it does look. So if we look at the water now, we talked about where you have the light wind, the dark water, more wind. We can see what we would call white horses. I think the Kiwis call them white sheeps, but we call them white horses, where you have the whiteness appearing on the water with the water friction.
Yeah.
That just shows that the wind strength is gradually starting to increase, and it's about 2:45 here local time, and I think the wind looks like it's going to continue to stabilise and continue to increase. So hopefully lots more racing to come, and it's just this case of making sure, if possible, every racer in the top 10. And I think we've said it before, you know, you can't win the regatta on race
Let's have a look back of the start in the race 1. He's won.
So can we pick out where the Estonian boat is? Just
coming he started from the windward,
closest to the committee, rolling the finish almost immediately. And just look at that work rate. I feel pretty pretty tired sat here on the sofa watching these these young guys. But that was it, and we see that a lot in high performance racing. First person to mark 1 wins the race. That is how important it is. And how long was it between the start and mark 1? Less than a minute, I guess. So first to mark 1. You look at the Sail GP and things like this. It's such an important skill set.
What's interesting to watch since the windsurfing become foiling, like even in higher winds, they still need to pump. Whereas in the traditional board, they don't actually need to pump that much.
Well, I think the more they pump, the faster they go. I think one of the things which comes out is actually the foil size dictates the sailor weight. So in terms of the Olympic classes, you actually get quite big sailors now. If you compare an RSX sailor to an IQ foiler, or in fact the same sailors have gained 10 kilos or whatever. Now the fitness requirement, it's in any sailing event, it's always huge. And that pumping, that's a very, very specific
Since IQ foil become the Olympic class from 2024, it is actually also the third year for IQ foil youth to appear in the Youth Sailing World Championship. At the same time, I could see, while we know all those Olympic IQ foiler, they probably need to increase their weight a lot. And for those youth, it's equally the same, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I wonder with the Olympics whether they will actually bring the sail size down, because what happens in developing boats is a sailor would choose to have a different foil size for their body weight. Whereas obviously with this equipment, you just have to have whatever, there's a set foil size. So just being the right weight for the boat, really important. That's why now with the ILCAs, both the men and the women, the boys and the girls, they both sail the 6, because it's quite a big requirement to get up to the fitness and size for the ILCA 7. But I think we're more dialed into this starting now. We're used to them, so they're now foiling away from the start. They're getting ready to set up, and it's just a time and distance exercise. Now, if you race a keel boat, it's a time and distance exercise. This is something which happens much quicker. And when we have the fleet racing, and you have boats upwind on port and upwind on starboard, I mean, just the rate of closure is going to be huge. Thinking back to the previous race, so do you think that that committee boat is favoured? Because I just wonder if you could get shut out by your rivals.
Or maybe it's just the Estonia boy. He's very, very strong and then very at the top, and then I mean, you can't get rolled if you're the windward boat. Yeah, I just feel it's so challenging to estimate the distance and time so that you can have those period of time to build up your best speed, and then you need to be off the start line on time and not over the line. Wow, that's
1 second is a lot of board lengths, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it actually looks like Norway's leading the fleet in.
Oh.
And the pumping starts. And again, you have it with the windward boats just working their way over.
But this time it seems the leeward board.
I think the Norway board probably had enough gap off, but you see the difference in angle. So it feels like Spain is closing a little bit.
Yeah.
And, just a tiny difference in wind pressure.
Feels the first mark for the board who's starting on the leeward side is actually the angle is a bit small to have better speed.
It's a higher angle.
Whereas the one who started on the windward side, they could build up more speed.
So I think we missed that when Spain rolled over the top.
Yeah, that's the case with Spain.
So that windward boat, I mean, it's been a good time for Spain recently with the, the football. The Sail GP,
Wimbledon,
and Wimbledon. So it's probably a good time to be a Spanish athlete. And I think we're coming up to that first jibe out. You see how the leader could jibe exactly when they wanted to, whereas the further back you are in the pack, maybe you're a bit more dictated to by other boards. But these decision making, you need to be good at quick decision making and thinking ahead, and just the speeds they're doing. I think we had it up on the screen earlier, but they're doing in excess of double the wind speed, I would imagine. In fact, that little winger there could be in danger. He's just gone out for a play. I wouldn't want to be on any of those courses.
Yeah, that's a great shot to see all the racing area, including the yokers, the 420, and then many other recreational
and the
boards.
Beautiful
mountains
in the background. I mean, some
Yeah.
people come here just for the hiking and the cycling and all the rest of it. But it does look like there's been a lead change. There, but it's a consistency sport. So I think the Italian boat was probably second at Mark 1 and is now leading. And we've talked about it a little bit already, but to have the home advantage, you know, the little things like, you know, the restaurants you like, you know where the gym is, you know where you can get to a physio, you're familiar with the piece of water, maybe you know just a lot of the people at the club. I do think that even if there is a little bit more pressure for the Italian athletes, I think home advantage, it's definitely something to be had. And it's just something that happens very rarely in your lifetime, for example, to, you know, be a host at Olympic Games. You know, that's something that happens very. And Garda, one of the very top sailing venues in the world, and when we were doing the video work for the lead up to this, we actually went to look at a lot of sailors, and we found they were Olympic sailors doing their final training here rather than the youth sailors. But look at that angle, how relaxed
I think we should give
look.
big thanks to the production team, because they're flying those drones, sending us the beautiful pictures and videos back, which we never
we could
seen
see
before.
We saw the Italian sailor punch the air before he went through the finish line, like we were there.
I remember in the past that the traditional live streaming is mainly filmed by big cameras on the boat, and then maybe if you get more budget to have the helicopters. When now with the advanced technology we can fly in those drones.
I mean, as a sailor, actually, it's much nicer. All right, there we go. This Italian sailor. Oh, he's so fast that Chase boat can't keep up with him. But I have to say, from a sailor's point of view, actually, it's nice having drones rather than helicopters creating downwash, or having
noise,
the noise, or the big chase boat which have the weight. So we've got the official race results here, and I think you can
another
see
home
now
proud moment.
Yeah, the Italians are going to be pretty happy if it carries on this way. But what's really nice is, just like the Olympic Games, it's only one sailor per country, so we have a really big spread there. And I do wonder how easy it is for the IQ foils to just go and
let's have another look
that time. So let's see. We can see Spain powering through. Where was the Italian boat? Did the Italian boat get rolled? So it's actually third round.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see. One of the big things about who wins, it's not how well they do on their good races, it's how well they can recover on their bad races. And recovering from a bad start, wow, that's worth a lot.
So the ability to keep chasing up, to keep overtaken other boats is equally important to make a good sailor or good windsurfer.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be at all surprised if at the end of the scatter some classes are separated by a matter of points.
Look at this footage, so
but he's
beautiful.
Relaxed. he's
knowing no one can
he knows
take
he's
over
got it
him.
in the bag. So I think the race time we're now back straight for the women, aren't we? Because we've got them both. For those people just joining us, we actually have 11 events, but 5 different race courses. So we're focusing today very much on the IQ foil, but we will try and bring you some coverage from all the other classes when we have the chance. But this slalom racing, wow, it's fast and furious, and I've never seen anything like it. I think just the time on distance here, it's such an important skill set.
Final seconds. The start time.
And Estonia again, the most windward board. In fact, same positioning as last time.
And the leeward board is from Hungary, but
yeah, I think Hungary has already got rolled.
Yeah,
I think Estonia they have the game plan. And
so the finish board.
So the finish board in the previous race, I think, got rolled, whereas now they manage to gap off. And what will happen, just a very slight difference in pressure or a very slight difference in the wind direction can make a huge difference. So it's a consistency game, and those two boards who are lower, they're going to struggle. So you see this top line, yeah, the top line. So you've got the finished ball which has just gone round. We call that the overtaking lane.
Yeah.
Because those boats which are a little bit low and slugging to get up, they're in a lot of trouble. And you know, if Estonia can get top 3 every race, that will be a good day. It's not about winning a race by a mile, it's about being consistent. And if you look now, the boats are really focused on the pressure. You see how the second place, it's in slightly more wind and is able to go a little bit lower, but can they poke through? It's surprising to see this much difference in the pressure in an aura. It's really surprising to see. And you've got one boat that jibed early, and they look absolutely launched.
Ooh.
So what you want to do, if you can, is to be proactive, because the first person into the gust, they gain that big advantage. And the faster the boat, the more obvious it is. So with the RSX, I often used to watch their racing, because when you're trying to learn about a race course, it was really clear which way was favoured, because the differences in speed for them were huge. But these two, they're fighting it neck and neck.
I just wonder, it's so important to call the jibing point right, and whether to jibe slightly a few seconds earlier and later make all the difference.
I think the inside board is in control here, but it's high pressure. I mean, it's hard to tell, but there's meters there between them. Meters. And you see Finland is now climbing up, looking for the roll, but I think Italy's away. Well, I think Garda's a very special place, and there's the joke that the more I practice, the luckier I got. But if you're familiar with the venue and you sailed here in all sorts of conditions, the chances are that you have that slight boat speed advantage. But here,
let's see
if
the Italian could protect the lead.
I think the Italian's going to climb up very slightly, because somebody's down. Somebody's down. I wasn't quick enough. Did you see who that was?
No.
So that'll be third or fourth to maybe even last place. Italy's now defensive mode, just climbing up. If the Finnish tries to go under, I think they're just going to drop the bow on top of them. So that's really good positioning there.
Are we marching to the finishing line? Yeah.
Yeah.
Another
but a close
winning.
One. Another winning Italian,
for
but a close one.
Yeah, another cheer for home fans.
There'll be some happy coaches, and I have to say, Italians have done an amazing job putting on this event. I'm thoroughly enjoying all the atmosphere here.
Yeah.
And sailing, it's a lifelong sport. These sailors, you know, the friendships they make this week, they're going to last a lifetime.
Yeah, and then I noticed. Let's have a look of the race back again. So
I'm really keen to see who the.
So Italy starts second most to leeward. Yeah. So the most leeward board is Hungary, and then Italy. Actually, her start isn't that good, but she managed to climb up one by one.
Speed makes you a tactical genius, and it is such a short race. So I think we have the gapping off here, just to keep the options open, keep away from that wind shadow, gain control inside at the mark, and then the final leg climbed up a little bit high, nice and defensive, solid win, very solid win.
You know, John, there's a national trophy.
There is?
In this Youth World Championship. It seems very likely this time Italy will...
Well, it's early days to say that, really, but it's more than likely, because I said, you know, home nation advantage.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'd be keen for that. So I mean, Estonia did another top 3 there, and it'd be very interesting to see the sailor who was, I guess, top 5 who went for a swim. That would not be in the game plan.
And the Youth World Championship started in 1971, so this is the 53rd edition. And then Italy is one of the 4 nations that has been participating in every single one. Guess what's the other 3 nations?
Oh, I didn't know there was going to be a quiz. I would just like to say GBR with a bit of home bias.
Correct.
But I think there's a strong in youth sailing. I think Europe is strong, so maybe France is another one. But I'm not sure.
It's actually Italy, GBR, Sweden, and the Dutch, Netherlands.
There you go. So I mean, the European Olympic circuit, or the Eurolympics it was called, was always the place to be. So crikey, another start has already happened, and it's this windward position here.
We can see.
It looks like the Brits are working hard to come through. It's really interesting with this angle where the leeward boats are now able to hold that line. But having said that, it does feel like that windward position is maybe a little bit safer. Maybe you're not first to the first mark, but you're not going to get rolled.
The British girl is actually one of the favourites to win this event because she won a bronze medal last year in Brazil.
So she's had the experience?
Yeah. And then the winning girl is not participating this one, so she thought it will be her chance to claim the gold this time, to make one more step forward.
As a coach, we're always just trying to get as much experience in a young body as we possibly can, because like any sport, there's a finite time that you can compete in the Olympic classes. We're lucky that sailing is a sport for life, and there's all sorts of things you can sail, even if you're racing a 2.4 with no physical requirement, or the radio control boats, or the e-sailing. There's so much, but these guys for the next 10 years will be at the peak of their fitness, and every time they pump it makes me feel I should go for a longer run in the morning, I think.
The World Sailing Youth World Championship is just a bit different from the Class Youth World Championship, right? So every nation only has one sport, and giving those youth sailors and windsurfers and foilers the first taste of what's Olympics going to be like.
And the good and the bad.
I remember back in 2005 when I did it, I had so much great memories, and then just having those boards, those IQ foilers, they still got cell numbers, whereas actually many other classes they only have national flags, because you are the only one from your nation, and just really, really great experience, and then a sense of pride to represent your country to do those events.
The people you raced against for many years.
For the next decade or two.
I sometimes think it's so. In sailing, we often have master sailing for sailors over 30.
So let's
and
have a
you
look.
can have sailors racing in their 50s, and it's still the same people winning, coming second and coming third. But this looks more separation than the last race. I mean, I think you could never say there's a comfortable lead, but this looks more comfortable than the previous race.
Yeah.
Maybe because there's a little bit more breeze, and there's a little less holes. It's snakes and ladders where you have the holes and the bigger areas of pressure, but this just looks absolutely launched. So these two are now well clear of the chasing pack.
She looks so relaxed, knowing no opportunity from her opponent could take her win.
But it's interesting what you said about the speed. We've done a little bit of analysis, and actually when people are going faster, for the work rate of the body, the heart rate is higher. It is much higher, even when it's not physically much, just that rate of closure. And with foiling, sailing has just got faster and faster and faster. And I just think probably I was born 30 years too early, because the youths of today, they're stepping straight into foils. Having said that, I think there will always be a place for non-foiling.
Let's have a look back of this fleet.
So those 5-6 pumps,
and they already make the Brits back to the leading position. So that shows how efficient and effective of her pump compared with others.
It's not just purely work rate effort. There's a strong technique element, because you can work really hard and do a bad pump. And this is what I was talking about earlier in terms of Rule 42. So if you did 5 or 6 pumps like this in an ILCA, somebody's going to turn up in a rear, point a yellow flag at you, and yeah, you're in trouble for breaking Rule 42. Whereas these, they can work as hard as they want.
Yeah, for the windsurfer, they can just pump as much as they want, so long as they have good fitness.
Well, I think one breeds the other, doesn't it? So yeah, that was a really nice win.
Daisy Sean from GBR won this race.
We get a lot of racing
yeah.
today on the IQ fight. So I think this was a very, very good choice of race course to follow. Be aware that at the same time, all the other classes are racing, although actually some may be coming towards the end of their racing. So we will flick between the two. There's some very wet water there, and the coaches are nervously looking at their sailors. And a top tip, if you're ever here coaching at the Youth Worlds, it's worth spending the money on a very good set of vision stabilised goggles. Very important, otherwise you'll have to ask your sailor what happened rather than the other way around. Looks like we're getting set for another start here. Everybody going to the left of screen, ready to line up. Now, will it be another carbon copy?
So this is actually the second race for those IQ foil.
So I think maybe Greta's got the opportunity to grab someone. Sorry, Greta, have you got an IQ foiler for us?
Freddy, congratulations! You just won race number 2. How is it for you to be winning in your home country in Italy on day number 1?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it's a pleasure to be here, out here racing with very good competitors and in a lovely spot, one of the best in the world. And to be representing the Italian colors is just amazing, and I will try to give my best to the last day. It's just the first one done, still 17 to go, 70 races to go, so I will put every little bit that I have in me to honor Italy.
I would say there is nothing to add about that. Thank you so much, good luck, all the best, and fingers crossed.
Thank you very much. Forza Italia.
Greta, I have to say there was a lot of home nation pride go there, but I have to say, in all honesty, it's not only the Italians who think that Garda is a fantastic venue. And oh well, we're straight into the start there. Again, we have a boat clear to windward, but it looks like they've touched down, and they've touched down and affected the finish. So, wow.
Oh, it's a January call.
I think this was a false start. Too many boats
over the line.
A general recall, so we go straight back into the starting sequence, and we seem to have a large boat coming through in the background. So
those
I don't know
are
what they made of all that.
The tourists on that boat must having a lovely time, enjoy those beautiful scenes.
Yeah, it does feel like the whole fleet was punched. And in terms of time and distance, I guess just 3 knots more.
Yeah.
Just huge difference in the board speed, and that just meant the fleet arrived early. We will have the same sometimes in the traditional fleet racing, where boats line up on the start line, and then if the wind goes a little bit right, which it will do here sometimes, then actually the whole fleet relines up and suddenly ends up over the line. So it's again dealing with pressure, because you have to go back to your routine and you have to just do it all again. So they say maybe, I think, 17 more races to go, but there could well be 20 or more starts. And I can tell you from the commentary booth up here, it's getting windy. There's the background noise of all the halyards flapping in the wind, and it's a lovely venue. I think if it wasn't for the wind, it would probably be too hot. They call these sea breeze in Australia, in the sort of Perth area, they call it the Doctor.
Yeah, everyone has a name for the wind, and I remember in France you have the Mistral, right? Every year, every April when we race in year, you probably can get a mixture of light wind, hot days, but then at the same time you are also likely to get Mistral, which is quite cold and strong wind.
Well, Mistral is very confusing for people, because you get this very strong northerly wind, which is obviously offshore on the south coast of France, but it's beautiful blue sky, so you think it's lovely quiet there, and the water looks completely flat. And then the Olympic class is launched, and the further they get offshore, the windier and windier and windier it gets. So what we have here, this is a thermal effect with the Aura. We had the peeler this morning. I went for a little jog first thing, and it was perfectly sailable. 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And
Garda got the name of wind machine, and then many people come here to do windsurfing and then to enjoy the speed exhilaration, and then now more people are into foiling.
It's a water sports paradise, and it's nice for us that we know that we have a consistent afternoon race time, and I do hope people can join us every day. We'll do our best to present the live coverage. So we've got another winner interview here, and you'd be no surprise, it's an Italian again. Over to you, Greta.
I started a little bit on the pin, and the girl from Finland started more in the boat, so she rolled me, but in the downwind I managed to pass her, so I took this win, but it's only the first one of a long championship.
That's true, but still it gives you a little bit of a motivational boost, right? Because starting good, you always need to feel a bit safer, right?
Yeah, I showed that I can be there, so I try to do my best and continue to do my best and just hope for the win in the end.
And how much do you honestly enjoy racing at home this time?
I enjoy it a lot because Garda is one of my favorite places to train and to also do the races, so I'm happy about it.
Thank you so much. Good luck and all the best.
Thank you.
And thank you. So I've got to say that's a very mature approach. I mean, you can't do better than winning the first race, but they say there's an awful lot to go. Now, for the folks at home, we can see that we've got the General Recall flag, which is being displayed low down. That's the triangle with the yellow triangle in the blue triangle. They now, under the IQ foil, have the black flag. So Lily, can you tell us, do you have some memories of the black flag, and what does it mean?
It cost me a world championship.
It did.
So the black flag starting rule is once you are over the line, you will score BFD. And then that's just a disqualification, and then you wouldn't want to that. You would definitely want to avoid it. So
definitely not on day one as well.
For this start, probably those windsurfers will be a little bit more conservative instead of pushing, because actually early on in this week, consistent and conservative is probably a better strategy instead of pushing too hard and need to carry those big points. That's something you want to avoid early on.
Oh, especially for the sailors who show good speed, because this is the situation where the whole fleet will hang back a little bit. But I think it's important to say, even if this race is general recalled and it happens again, if they were over,
they couldn't race.
They couldn't race, and I can tell from personal experience. Sat there when the rest of your fleet is racing, it's a hard. So I think we've probably got another sailor all teed up. Are you ready for us, Greta?
So we're here with another winner, powerhouse of a lady, Darcy. Congratulations! How was your last victory? How did the race go?
Went really nicely. Yeah, very happy.
Okay. So have you been training here in Lake Garda a lot recently? Are you coming to the area?
No, I got here just a few days ago. I've been at a competition in France.
Okay, so good luck, all the best, and keep pushing.
Thank you. Thanks.
Back to you to the studio, guys.
She's a little bit shy and not that talkative yet, but yeah, she looks so calm and so relaxed, and then getting ready for the next race with a little bag probably to refuel herself with some more water.
If you're a top sailor, you just have to get used to talking to the media. We're all friendly, and a lot of us are sailors or ex-sailors.
Well, that's another skill you probably will continue build on over the years. Maybe some sailors or windsurfers to start with, they are introvert, but gradually as they have more experience dealing with the media, and then they may well become talkative.
I do wonder. Well, I know somebody sat to my right that probably probably fits that bill. But I do wonder if it's better to be slightly as a young sailor and better able to control your emotions and your aggression, because I think that's one of the things that with the lack of experience, there's so many things which are beyond your control. That mindset that you just go out and you do your best in the next race and it's a good start, that's really important, because actually you only want to focus on the things you can control. And we're talking about that. The sailors, they have the control here of their time and distance. They can't control what their rivals are doing, but with a black flag up, that will change the mindset. Having said that, if the whole fleet goes super conservative, there's a really good opportunity for someone to take advantage of that.
Yeah. So the World Sailing Youth Worlds is really great opportunity for those future stars to practice and accumulate more experience for their future Olympic campaign. And Jon, you know what? There are many Olympic medalists. They used to be the winner for the youth from the Youth Worlds.
Well, I was going to say there's many Youth World winners who are here coaching.
And I remember, the ILCA sailor from Great Britain, Alison Young.
Yes, she's here.
Yeah. So in 2005, actually, it was the US girl Paige Rayleigh who won that Youth World Championship, and then I was second, and then Alison Young was third.
Yeah.
And then, as you put it, later on, for many years, we were racing against each other. We went to one Olympics after another. So those
and all class world champions as well.
Oh yeah, we're all world champions. Wow.
When the time came.
Good point. Yeah. So those are all future stars. Worth keep an eye on their future journeys.
And I think one of the things is that this experience, it's something which sets you up, because you, like the Olympics, which is only every 4 years, you're only ever going to attend 2, 3. I mean, there's the exception like Robert Scheidt, but that you have a limited number of these regattas. And the Youth Worlds,
I couldn't think of any other sport they would have this kind of format for Youth World Championship, and then it's like a mini Olympics. The fashion of Olympics, like all the garden now is turning into an Olympic village, and everywhere we go, everywhere we walk, within distance, they're full of sailors and coaches.
Well, little things, just like the fact we walk along with accreditation pass and buzz in, it does feel like Olympics.
And then we dine together. That's something also very unique. We like after the racing day, after the whole day, everyone's dining in the big hall, and you bump into each other, have a big social, and have a big chat. Wow, just so nice. And then I remember back in those days, we have the tradition of exchanging gifts.
Yes.
Starting from Optimist, exchanging T-shirts. So I would be interested of what gifts this generation's being prepared.
Of the pins. I mean, it's very nice actually to have the open dining hall, because the last Olympics we had the plastic barriers between because of COVID, which seems a long way away. But we're just getting into the start. So see if we can see as their first boats start to jibe and lead back in. And this time and distance, it's such an important thing.
So it looks like about 30 seconds countdown before they start on this port tack, ready for the charge. Acceleration is the key.
It just feels like the boards who are at the back now, even with 20 seconds to go, you already know they're not going to have the
it looks
best
like
start.
they are still like a bit conservative,
I still think with 5 seconds to go that they're all too far back, and there's a real advantage here for the first one up and planing.
So the most
one
windward
from the top,
and
one from the
leeward.
bottom.
Well, he got a lot of space to sail where he wanted to.
So it's just going to be about that key angle, and it's amazing they're all doing over 20 knots here. I mean,
Israel is really strong in windsurfing, aren't they?
I think it's a windsurfing paradise because you have warm sea. So when you're learning, and maybe with any water sport, when you're learning, you spend quite a lot of time in the water rather than on it. It makes it easy to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, leading in, and there's definitely more wind because if you look at that angle, they're all lower now, and I think there's fewer holes in the race course.
Yeah.
So expect a tight series. But for Israel, they just have that enough of a lead. They can gap off and they can sail their own race a little bit more, and that just makes it a little bit less pressure. But the work rate, Yeah, this is
Interesting.
full on sailing. So who's going to be the first to jibe off?
So you got
It's
the
not
option.
always the leader.
You got the option to sail higher with more speed or lower, try to get a better VMG.
It feels like Israel was trying to match.
In control.
Yeah.
Mm.
And just lead back in, but you can see now the water is generally darker. In fact, Israel's quite a tight angle coming into this mark, so looking.
We probably got more than 15 knots of wind now. And earlier when we talk about the Emerging Nation program, actually in the IQ foil fleet, we have 10 windsurfer get the support from the Emerging Nation program, not only during the race, during the regatta. Wow, look at those coaches watching closely.
Yeah.
I wonder how much they could see.
Well, you have to say for Emerging's coach, they're coaching 10% of the fleet or more, aren't they?
Oh yeah, and then the Emerging Nations coach, they got their own boat, so those windsurfer can get some extra.
Small advantage,
Yeah,
actually having your coach
yeah.
on the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a big job.
Look at the speed, 24, 25 knots.
So there was quite a big, yeah.
Wow.
So what you have to remember, because of the speeds, actually 10 metres is just.
John,
just
have you
almost-
sailed into
just
that
almost
speed
nothing.
in your life?
I have been foiling, and I have to say, I think foiling is the future, and I think the Olympics and indeed the youth worlds, it really showcases all the different aspects of our sport.
So even after I retired from the Olympic campaign, I started to be addicted in the foiling. Like obviously, for sailor, I moved from ILCA, traditional slower boat, to WASP and switch, and hopefully one day I could get a hand on the moth.
Well, you don't stop sailing when you get old. You just get old when you
another
stop sailing.
windsurfer dropped. Oh, such a pity. So close to the finishing line. And then because of that drop, you probably lose quite a lot of places.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
Nearly last, I think, because
trying to
it's
get
quite an effort
onto
to
the foil
get up
again.
on the foil. But when we look at the start, the whole fleet was back and not really foiling. And that was a big opportunity. I mean, it felt Israel wasn't really challenged up at that windward end.
Yeah.
And with that angle,
he can
just
have
leading
more
into
speed.
the mark.
Yeah.
So when you look at Formula One in terms of going around corners, you often have a quite wide turn into the corner, so you can have a tight exit. And it's the same in sailboat racing. If you give yourself a little bit more turn, a little bit more room, then you can do a really tight mark rounding at the end, and that's what we had here. But these guys just make it look so easy, don't they, Lily?
It looks almost effortless for their driving, but the behind-the-scenes story is they put in so many hours to practice. To start with, probably they will drop into the water a lot and to get a great hand, a great feeling, to balance on the boards, to control their
and that
sails.
feeling, I mean, it's just through the feet. In fact, you'll probably find the majority are sailing barefoot, just so they have that connection with the board.
So Israel's windsurfer won this second heat.
And it does. It does
So
feel
next
like the
two
wind
will
is
be the girls.
Still patchy. Yeah, it's just funny, if we look at this upwind, you can see how much more wind there is there on that right-hand side of the race course. You wonder if they're another time the course set up just slightly closer to that cliff, but it's hard to tell from here whether they're in sequence.
It looks like actually they are in the great pressure, great wind area, which is darker color. It should be good, and really those windsurfers will enjoy the speed.
So I
And
guess
speaking back of those Olympic champion and those legends like Robert Shire you mentioned, and Banansley has also won the youth worlds before. So he's now the most successful Olympic male sailor in the world. And then Russell Coutts,
Yes.
who's the CEO of SailGP, also won this event. And yeah, to many big names.
And then we were talking earlier about the sailing nations. You said you think you're going to put your hand up and think Italy's probably likely to win that. But how does that competition work? Can you describe it?
Yeah, so every day they will calculate all the nations, all their competitors' points to add together. There's another scoring system, and then after the whole event, the best nation. And the best nation got the opportunity to raise the trophy. And have a guess, which country, which nation won the most?
Oh, I really didn't know there was going to be a test, Lily. This is
clue
unfair.
is the country who's going to host the games.
I think it's France.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you asked me about the countries which were...
Why what occurs to you as France?
Well, because I followed every Youth Worlds for the last 30 years and they seem to have come up. But when you said about the countries that were right from the beginning, France, I always remember being there for a very long time, but I wasn't there since '71. But it does look like we're in the starting sequence here. It does look like we've got a black flag. So let's have a quick ad break, and then we'll be back just in time for the start of the race.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready. We're just coming up to the final minute of the start. And I think what we've seen previously, it's that last 30 seconds that is absolutely key. So at the moment, the 1 minute is just coming up and they're just thinking about their time on distance. So you can see them starting to make their final turn for their approach. And it was a black flag start, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then now the fleet that's starting now is from men race to B, and then within a minute now everyone that's now driving back and then trying to get ready to a port tack start.
And it does feel like that committee boat position is powerful if they can be there with the time on distance. So it's interesting. The Brit seems to be one of the most forward. Oh, we have some more coming in shots. So is it Peru who's leading him? But they're still just cruising. Believe it or not, they're going, I don't know, 8 knots, but this is cruising speed, and you can expect to see the pumping starting very shortly. Because it's not only about your positioning on the line, it's about being there at full speed.
Okay, the start signal, it looks like a clean start. and then see who get the best pumping to accelerate to get their maximum speed for this wind range.
So it's all about the angle to that first mark. I think so one board was jibing and going
backwards.
So was that a
several.
false start?
General recall.
So that must be a general recall.
Oh, so too many boards over the line.
So that was a black flag. So there's going to be some numbers written on the committee boat. There's going to be some people. Wow. Yeah, I think maybe those first 3 boards, they're going to be disqualified from that race and from any from the restart of that race. So it'd be a nervous time for those people who were close on.
And that also indicate we will have some waiting time.
It is
to the race committee to show.
Yeah, well,
the
they'll be doing video replay as well, won't they, to see who is over. It's a nervous feeling as an athlete waiting for your numbers to go or not go, isn't it?
And then in a way you feel the race committee boat is so popular at that time. Everyone wanted to be surrounded in this boat.
Do you think they're feeling claustrophobic now on the race committee boat? I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because the rate of closure is so high. And actually, if you have a really bad start, it's and you cannot count it in your series, then it's just as bad as a disqualification. So sailing it's a consistent sport, and it's about risk management. But I guess there's some pretty nervous sailors there.
Yeah, and for the slalom racing, the point they will get if they get the BFD is 2 more points added to how many boards they are starting.
I mean, I'm just thinking maybe for the slalom racing, because it's such a short race, maybe the starting has become even more important. I just think that the opportunity, if you have a bad Mark 1 position to recover, it's hard. It's really hard because there's just not that much runway left to take off to that good position. But you know, everybody knew it was a black flag, and I guess the race committee's a bit nervous as well. They want to get it right. So at the moment, I think it looks like the 420s are still racing out there in some of the other classes. So today our main focus is the IQ foil. There's 11 events going on. We're going to be on 5 different race courses. In fact, there's several different host clubs here all along the north of Lake Garda. So we'll be trying to give them all as equal coverage as we possibly can. And I would just encourage the folks at home, if you're enjoying the coverage, please do share it on your social media, and perhaps if not, tell us why not, and we'll try and improve.
Yeah.
But likes are always appreciated.
Leave us some comments and then or questions we may able to answer.
There's no such thing as a bad question. There's a possibility of some bad answers, but we just want to show all the best parts of the sailing we can, and especially this event being like a youth Olympics. It's the best under 19 sailors in the world. Over 200 sailors are here. We had a fantastic opening ceremony of about 70 different countries just parading their flag and the national pride, and that teamwork. I said it's not only the people you race against, but actually you're probably going to be in a team of similar people as you go throughout your sailing career. So we have the Bora southerly wind. It's 28 degrees apparently, but I can tell you at midday it felt a lot higher than that before the wind kicked in, but it's keeping it cool now. And we have quite a relatively cold water temperature here, which is why the thermal is just so good. And Garda, it's a super deep water. We're into the 3 now. I think that just went up. It's quite hard to tell from here sometimes, but I think you're not going to see people leading away until about 2 minutes to go. And unfortunately, there will be some people who are not participating in this race.
Yeah, and then just touching back of the Emerging Nation program we mentioned earlier, we could see that they are Lake Garda. Oh, yeah, that's a great information.
I said it was the largest lake in Italy. I didn't know that much detail. But about the Emerging Nations?
Yeah, so this time we have 10 windsurfers getting the support from the Emerging Nation programs, and it has a great variety of mixture of different nations.
Great.
So they are from Latvia, Malaysia, Peru, Puerto Rico, Tunisia, and Ukraine.
So I think we should try really hard to watch out for those sailors today. The coach has definitely got a busy busy schedule trying to look after that number of athletes. And again, it's a very accessible part of the sport because you can travel easily to competitions with your equipment, and making sailing more accessible is such an important thing. And also my hope is that the young sailors, they go back and they feed their enthusiasm, their talent and their skill set to the people at their home club. And you know, clubs and classes, this is the bedrock of sailing, and it's such an important thing to carry that back. And sailing, we're so lucky that it's a sport for life. These sailors, I think I've said it many times already, they're going to remember this event for the rest of their life.
For sure. When people ask me what's your most memorable event, of course, winning Olympics is always be the number one thing. But the very second one, I would say, is the Youth World Championship, because it's just like another Olympics, a mini Olympics or Youth Olympics. It's just so special, and so many great memories and wonderful friends making from back into then. And then though you're rivals on the water, but
there's
once on
friendships.
shore, they're friendships. So whenever I go to different countries, I will contact those sailors who's in that country, and then we still catch up and get together.
Well, we did that last night, didn't we? Gintari, 2008 silver medalist. But 30 seconds, we're back on the board. And it feels like Slovenia is probably the top, and GBR is down towards the bottom again. So I was trying to work out by playing Spot the Difference which boards are missing. That'll be a game for later. So we've got last 10 seconds, expect the pumping. We've got Italy coming in hot. Italy coming in very hot. And
all clear.
Yes. Thank goodness for that. We're racing. It's interesting that there seems to be a board from one of the other races who's actually doing a timed run to leeward just to do a bit of testing, I think. But we shall see how that pans out. So Slovenia high and a Spain low. And the graphic is telling us that Spain is ahead. But there is that difference in angle. In fact, Italy looks like they have really good pace again. And the top three, they're going to be a little bit clear. I feel Norway and the lower boats are just losing pace coming up to that mark. So Slovenia, Italy, Spain.
I suspect the Italy windsurfer will very much likely to overtake.
So I wonder if Italy's actually going to be the first one to jibe and try and lead off. We're going to see this sort of tactics a little bit when we look at the Nacras and the 29ers, because it's very powerful being the person who chooses when to jibe. But you can see that pressure behind, and it's almost like jibing on the whistle. You see that streak of pressure, so that's a gust because it's actually moving down the racecourse very slightly as well. They all went in exactly that place, and that just shows the level of skill that they have. You know, anyone who thinks that there's a difference in skill between traditional sailing and foiling, I can tell you these guys are properly racing, and it's almost like a match race at some point when they get ahead, controlling their rivals. But it's a short race now, and I think these three have already, from their first mark position. Oh, I love that from in front. From that first mark position, they've done the work. So we've got a little bit of gap here. So the gap just to create a little bit more speed.
It seems
coming
the
into the mark.
Slovenia windsurfer has extended his distance.
Just that lay line, I would call it a lay line for the mark. But the chasing pack, I think they're a long way behind now. Slovenia, that looks, we've said it before, there's no such thing as a comfortable lead, but that looks pretty comfortable now. But it's a consistency sport. If Italy does top three every race, they're going to be very happy at the end of day one. And the big thing, which is so noticeable with this class, if you come off the foils,
I just couldn't help appreciate those footage sending back from those drones, which we rarely see in the past, like in a traditional way of making those live streaming.
And there's another athlete gone.
And then the one very behind behind of
It's
her.
really hard.
Yeah. To
It's
avoid.
like a bicycle race. If somebody crashes in front of you, then it can be really
sudden
hard.
break.
Really hard news. If somebody drops the rig, everything happens very quickly. I mean, that race, it was over before we noticed. Another really solid race for Italy, and a race win for Slovenia. Spain in third. I wonder if they're going around the committee boat to check if there was any black flags. It looked all clear to me.
Yeah, it also feels the wind has picked up a little bit more, maybe.
Well, we have an open air studio here for the folks at home. It's definitely more windy.
We have 20 knots.
Yeah, the stat we had for this race course was I believe 12 to 14 knots, but here we're right up at the top of the lake, and I think it must be more like 18, with just a beautiful view.
Let's have a look back of this race we've just finished. And Slovenia is leading from the very first mark,
Yeah, that
and
first mark,
gradually extending his lead.
First mark position is powerful.
Oh, just beautiful footage. Like it won't be possible using like what's traditional way of helicopter or big camera on a boat.
Oh
Ooh.
no! And it was the Dutch board.
And the Hong Kong windsurfer.
And Hong Kong did very well
Good
not
job.
to join him in the water.
Yeah, and
Very
avoid
good job.
collision.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That was a really good job by Hong Kong, and yeah, Slovenia will be happy. And already we're looking at going into the next race. But
so it is Val from Slovenia winning this race, followed by Federico from Italy and Raymond from Spain.
I'm just going to check whether Greta has managed to catch up with anyone, or are we going straight into the next race. It's a busy day for the on the water reporter, isn't it? They're probably quite hard to catch. It's not like traditional races where there's one every 40-50 minutes.
Yeah. So here for this event, I think it is the first time that 6 clubs co-host together for the Youth World Championships. And then while we have 5 course areas, actually some classes need to share, like NACRA sharing the course area with the Yokers.
Yeah.
So it's more like at 1 p.m. those Yokers racing, and then from after, now should be probably the NACRA's racing.
Yeah, well, one of the things is obviously it takes a while for the aura to stabilise, but the sailors need to get to the race course. So what happens at this rather large event called the Olympic Games, which is coming up, is the sailors are often towed to their race course by the coaches, which means they can get there in good time, and some of the race courses will actually be quite a long way from the Olympic base. And as a coach, that's one of the hard things, you know, to say to your sailor, do you want to be out as soon as possible, or if it's a windy day and you know the course well, are you more one of the last off the shore? Here the sailors have all got to sail to the race course, and that means, you know, for the furthest race course it's quite a long way. It's something the sailors are not perhaps used to, and it can be physically demanding on a windy day. So what's happened now is the wind's settled, the wind is just gradually turning a little bit, and to ensure we have fair racing, the course needs to be reset. So I think now's a good time to go to ad break, and we'll let the marks reset themselves. I think they're the robot marks, self-powered, and we can learn a little bit more about Garda in the local area. And welcome back. So we have a slight delay why the course is reset, because it's very important to have the course set to the true wind angle. If you have a traditional windward, leeward, then the situation is a little easier because you just have to move one mark. If you've got multiple classes on a course where you have a trapezoid like the ILCAs, then you maybe have 4 marks where it has to move. But here they have to move the whole course really accurately for the slalom. So it's quite a lot of work, but it looks like we're gearing up and we're going to be ready to start soon. You could just see from this superb drone shot how fast they go when they need
I'm
to.
actually quite impressed about how quickly the race committee managed to reset the course, because nowadays they're using GPS robot marks,
Exactly.
right? And then the race officer just need to put the numbers in, and then the mark will go to the right position itself.
And the thing here, we have no current. It's a lake. I mean, you could argue I have wind-blown current because obviously the wind is just creating a wave that's pushing you downwind all the time, but there's no current at all, and that makes it much easier. In The Hague, where we had really strong current, wow, those poor little robot marks, they got pretty tired fighting 4 or 5 knots of current at some points.
It looks like another black flag for this fleet, for this start. So it's women's race 2, fleet 8 start, and then we got 1 minute 15 seconds to go. So all the windsurfers now on starboard tack, leaving enough distance for them to accelerate before the final acceleration to start on port.
So I guess what we're looking at now is basically the windier it gets, the time and distance is changing, so then later they do that final charge. So now I guess it will be the last 20 seconds we see them doing their time runs into the start.
Yeah. At the same time, those who are not racing, they need to avoid the racing area, but equally they will be interested to see what the racing fleet are doing.
Exactly, and you can probably learn a lot from who won the previous race, what they did, what their time and distance is, whether the start line has changed or not.
Final
it's a
20 seconds.
really key thing. But here already, in a way, the race has started, because you're positioning now. If you've got bad positioning with 15 seconds to go, and we can already see there's a couple of people right at the back, that's effectively race over for them. Final 5 seconds. This is when we expect to see the pumping start, but the fleet seems early. And I just wonder whether Finland had an amazing start or an OCS. In fact, yes, you can see somebody doing a little tuning run at the bottom of the screen, and I think that's really important, just to stay absolutely dialed in. But that looked a good start from Finland. If they were behind the line, that's a race-winning strategy just there. And you can just see how fast they're going by this streak of water coming off the foil behind them as they lead into Mark 1. Already 2 boards looking well clear, and I think we could probably guess which ones they are from the previous race. If you're good in the conditions and you have the speed, then you tend to get towards the front. And it's about mistake minimization. Now, the question is, will Italy be able to pass again?
So at the moment, actually, Finland windsurfer will have more advantage as she's the inside board if they are approaching the mark. Italy need to give mark room.
Well, at the moment, Finland can decide when to jibe, but she is in danger of being rolled, and this is what's always hard to tell with the camera angle. So you may find that Italy gaps off, and then
Italy
it goes
decided
in
to
first.
go lower.
Well, if you look again, you can see the dark on the water, those little puffs of wind, making a huge difference. So Finland's gone first,
and
there's a big gap now. There's a big gap. So remember, when we were looking upwind, typically there was more wind on the right, which means for the spinnaker boats we will be looking at jibe sets. Those boats will be wanting to go that side, and with the boards they're going to look to delay the jibe and then come in hot. So it's hard to say, but this looks pretty close, and as Finland is just pumping to get up, it's going to be who gets into that new wind first. But I think Italy's got a very good chance here, being on starboard in the inside board. I think today could be Italy's day.
Yeah, very dominant performance from Italy sailors across all classes, all events.
And you see now just nice mark rounding, have that slightly wider entry, makes it easier to do the tight exit, and because of
we
the
can
wind
actually
direction,
see the drone now. How the
wind,
drones follow
we
or
can watch a
capture
drone.
you.
We can watch a drone watching a drone. That will be a really close up
I
shot in
wonder
front of Italy.
how the wind
and there we are.
Yeah, how she feels about those drones just flying ahead
I
of
think
her.
it's like a greyhound and a greyhound and a rabbit. It's a good excuse to go as fast as you can and catch the drone, but they won't. But yeah, she had the opportunity just to come up a little bit high and just defend, and that makes a huge difference. That you're in control of the race, and these races are over almost before they've started. Oh, I like this shot. You can just see the mark roundings here.
Beautiful
it's
footage.
It's a little bit light. This is the danger. In the marginal foiling, it's the danger. And as soon as we're into flat out, I just think Italy's going to be extending and safe. But credit to Finland, giving it everything they have. But you almost have a straight line between them and the mark. I think the drones are going to be working harder on the windy days.
Another bullet for Italy windsurfer.
Yeah, I mean that was a really good job. Just going to see whether Finland was behind that, because that was a really good start from Finland. And it's this skills, you know, what you practice becomes permanent, and starting skills really important.
So 2 races down for the girls, and also 2 races down for the boys. Let's have a look of
So we've got a quick recap here.
So after several races, I found actually those windsurfer who starting from the leeward side probably find it difficult or more difficult to keep up the pace with the speed riding from the windward side, because they can just sail lower and then having more speed
I mean that
rolling
first
everyone.
angle, that first angle is so important. If the race officer puts mark 1 just 10 ball lengths further upwind or downwind, it would make a huge difference to the optimum place to be on that start line. And the sailors, they will know that, and the thing is they all know that, so they all know where they want to be, but obviously only one person can be there. And you know, speed makes you a tactical genius, and it did feel like Italy had a little bit in the bag. She tried to roll, then she managed to soak, and then she stayed on, and that was really calm decision making.
Congratulations to Carola from Italy, winning another race,
I think
followed by
we're going to see a lot of this sailor over the coming days.
Yeah. So Sofia from Finland finished 2nd, and then Daniela from Israel finished 3rd in this race.
And it looks like we're just about to roll straight into another race.
So we will see them already on port tack, getting ready to start off the line on port tack.
It feels like the fleet is very
So at the moment,
spread.
those windsurfers still trying to work out which position. The final option to be flexible and to choose to sail a little bit higher or lower.
Well, I think the danger
the
sometimes
speed.
would be to get shut out the committee boat, but it just felt like there was a lot of space there.
For
a lot of
the
space.
British
working hard. And you can just see that every, and let's
pump.
call it body pump, because they're pumping with the whole body. It's not just an arm movement. That makes such a huge difference to speed, and I do hope this winger isn't in the kill zone. I think it's just the camera angle, but if I was that winger, which I'm definitely not, I will be trying to get away from the race course as soon as possible. So it actually says that the checkboard is in front. It will be interesting whether they can roll over or whether GBR will hold. And I think GBR's coming up. I think that's fine. I mean, it's close. That's really close. That's really close. I think it was a roll. I think it was a roll by the Czech. So that will be. I think GBR will just carry on that line, because we said as you look downwind, left-hand side is better.
And now for GBR, it's just to keep consistent, sailing and then wait for.
Oh, you can win a regatta with just second places, can't you?
Yeah. What I mean is like waiting for your rivals to make mistakes.
But it does feel like it's getting late
ready
in the
to
afternoon.
jump.
It's
Oh,
bit
sync,
patchy.
almost like a synchronized
We
driving.
saw that before, didn't we? This is obviously the line. It's almost like it's painted on the water, and you have that quite often with the upwinds where people are looking at the ley line, and you end up tacking it almost in the same place every day, because that's just how the wind is bending around the topography. You can see those huge mountains, and it's hard to understand the scale of them, because you think they're big and you keep sailing towards them and they don't get any bigger because they're still a long way away. But I think the lead board here, that was a good move, just a little bit lower and in control. But we've seen, an
look at this
unforced error.
Look at this. Oh.
You think they jibed too soon?
Well, it looks to me that
was
GBR is
perfect.
going to row the check, but obviously
I think
it's
Czech got that pretty dialed in. I mean, that's the thing. You have all the options as the leader, but then obviously you have all the pressure, because if you got it really wrong, then that would be difficult. But they're doing 20 knots on this slalom course, and any little mistake, it's harshly punished. We saw, I think it was a Dutch windsurfer just losing the rig, and that's a huge number of places.
I wonder if she chooses to fly low, or it's just in a low.
So I think when you see the sailors, they're just going for the
final
jibe now, but just like the more they're putting mast foot
GBR.
pressure, the more overpowered they are. And these are actually smaller rigs than we have for the Olympic classes, but it's still very physical, and they now foil in a very low wind range. In fact, you could argue that some of the foiling classes perhaps have a larger sailable wind range than traditional boats. But if you look at the race position, top first mark, it's a really good indicator of the finish.
Looking at the speed, we can see the top from 23, 24, 25 knots.
Yeah.
Okay, check. Finished the first in this race. A
Solid
flawless
second
performance.
GBR. And is it Germany?
Yeah, Germany third.
And the wind strength is definitely up. You look at all those white horses just appearing on the course. There's got to be some tired sailors tonight, and that's the thing. Sailing, it's a consistency sport, and you need to have the fitness to be racing just as hard on Friday as you were on Monday afternoon.
So this is the winning girl. How cool!
And you see the bare feet just connected with the board.
How cool. So yeah, Nala from Czech Republic won this race, followed by Darcy from Great Britain and then Emma from Germany.
Wow, these races are coming thick and fast. I do hope the sailors, when they come ashore, I do hope they can watch some of this in replay. And I want to...
I'm sure they will, because for them it's more of a debrief and analysis. It's a golden opportunity for them to have a look back.
We better say something useful then, mustn't we? But a big shout out to those guys. You're gonna remember this regatta, and I hope you enjoy every minute of it, because at the end of the day, there's only going to be 3 people per class on the podium, but for everyone, it's such a good learning experience, and just to have the opportunity to be here is amazing.
This is a crucial moment, I think. Yeah, GBR just a little bit slow rounding the first mark, and then being rolled over by Czech, and then Czech never giving any opportunity afterwards.
1 metre makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Just 1 metre. But it'll be interesting when we're sat here on Friday just to see how close all the points end up.
Well, we will have a series of medal races on Friday.
So while we've got time, we've just finished the race recap. Can you talk us through the medal race? Because you've done a few.
Yeah, it's actually another update from the previous Olympics. Like, instead of a single medal race, we have medal series, depending on your position after. So for them, they have 18 races scheduled. So they will have 3 more races on the final day on Friday. So first fleet is from the 4th to the 10th, the first race, and then the final one is the top 3 will be decided. So it's a series of races instead of a single race.
And you know that when you get to the final, you're really, really, really racing against only the very best people.
Yeah.
So I think this format is interesting, and one of the things is it's just again this ability to perform under pressure.
Yeah.
Ability to perform, and it doesn't matter what type of sailing you do. That's a universal strength, and it's mental toughness as well as experience. I mean, these sailors, by definition, they're all under 19, so it's amazing to have such a mature approach. I've really enjoyed Greta's interviews so far, and yeah, I don't know, perhaps they've all had media training, but 2 minutes to go to the start. I think we can start to see them sailing away and getting ready. But
so this is the 3rd race, and 4 races are scheduled for today.
Because today is our IQ foil day. In fact, do you know what we're covering tomorrow? We've got a different course. I don't. It'll be a surprise. Okay, but today's the IQ foil. There's 11 events. So I think we've probably got time to grab one of those quick interviews while we wait for the start.
Yep.
If Greta's got a race winner for us.
Val, well done. First victory in the pocket. How are you feeling? How was this race for you?
So thank you first. It was a hard one. I had a great fight with Freddy, but I think the wind is okay, so it's good slalom racing. And now the groups are changing, so I'll give my best in the next ones.
Okay, and what can we expect from you during the next days?
I will give my best, and you will see.
Good luck, all the best. That's the right mindset.
Thank you.
Ciao, thank you.
I couldn't help noticing, even for the youth windsurfers, they are still looking much bigger than, than the traditional boards. Like imagine how hard they need to work on not just their strength, but also putting on weight, and not just putting on fat, but putting on muscles.
I mean, one of the things is because you're on a foil, being heavier, you're not pushing more water. There's not that extra weight in the boat, meaning you have to push more water out of the way because it's only the foiling. So we're now into that crucial last 20 seconds, and it just feels the fleet's more spread than we've ever seen before. And these guys, they obviously all know each other. You saw in the interview as he talks about his battle with his friend, and now it looks half the fleet is overlapped.
Oh, all clear.
Is that Latvia towards the bottom and Slovenia at the top? And this is the crucial bit. And you know, success breeds success. If you've won a race, that's got to put you pretty confident for the next one.
On the screen, January.
You see that telltale jibing back. If somebody's jibing, and that I think that was a black flag start, wasn't it? Let's have a look. It's funny looking into the sun. It's hard. Somebody, the people who had the crash, I'm sure they'll be very pleased it was a general recall. But I suspect the fleet all pushed each other over. Oh, we've got this nervous wait now. You expect it's going to be like moths to a flame. They're all gathering around the committee boat, seeing if their country letters are put up.
Despite the January call, I'm actually quite pleased to see quite a few sailors from the Emerging Nation program. They popped out really well, they sailed really well, and then they are in the competition and very competitive.
It's interesting, the interviews we had earlier with the Sri Lankan sailors. They actually asked me to coach them before the event, and it was just so nice that the young sailors are so keen. And that's half the battle. So if you think about a dinghy, one of the most important things is you're keen to take the cover off every day.
Yeah.
That you just want to go sailing. And I could see it today. We had the horn here being blown and the D flag going up for the release of the IQ foil, and you could see the sailors pacing around just wanting to be
on the water.
to let go. They wanted to get out there. But this will be a nervous point, and you've got 90% of the fleet within 5 boat lengths of the committee boat, looking to see what's going to go on. But the committee, they've been very good, and it'll be a quick turnaround, be a really quick turnaround. But a nervous time for those sailors, and I think just the pressure that, as I said, this regatta is only once a year, and you only ever get to do a few because you get aged out.
One of the beauty about the Emerging Nation program is that it just giving the event or giving more countries having the opportunity to join those top level event in the world. And then this time we have more than...
Yeah, I think, shall we just try, let's go to some of those pre-recorded interviews from the Emerging Nations, because that's a really close to my heart topic. And we have time.
It's been a one-of-a-kind experience where all sailors from all corners of the world join under one sailing program. And not only that, we in fact stay at the same venue where we laugh a lot, we play together, we share tactics and strategies on and off water, which helps all of us immensely. And I believe all of us have achieved a great amount from just meeting each other, experiencing each other's beliefs, and truly just bonding with each other at the end of the day, and have learnt a lot sailing wise and non-sailing wise. Sailing was first started in our school. It was done as a presentation towards our entire batch. Only 4 kids joined sailing in the end, but it has been a pleasure and maybe one of the best decisions I've made in my entire life.
So like my friends' parents were into sailing, and they were like a sailing family, and they invited me for like a camp during like opties, and so after that I used to come like every week. I think I like sailing because it wasn't boring.
How did sailing get me hooked? It's the technique, it's the skill, it's the effort you put into the sport in order to achieve what you can achieve. It's the countless possibilities that you have out at sea. The Emerging Nations program has introduced me to coaches and great sailors at world-class standards. Is hands down the best thing I've achieved in my sailing career. Enrolling in the Emerging Nations program and getting selected after a lengthy amount of selections, I believe. It's truly a one-of-a-kind program. I've learnt a lot from it, and I have in fact felt my sailing improved over the past few days, and I do hope that other sailors out there get to experience what I've just experienced.
The Emerging Nations program helps people like me who don't have like the ability to come easily for an event like this, and they basically provide us with everything, and it makes it so much easier for us to be able to compete. I would really like to go for the Olympics. From now on I'm trying to like gain experience, see what the world is like, and yeah, try and do my best to get there. It's been a dream since I was like a small child. When I started sailing, I started thinking of the Olympics.
Coming to the ENP as well as the ISAF Youth Worlds, it has truly showed me what other sailors are capable of and what I can be capable of if I work as hard as them, if the work ethic is there, and if my mentality is on point.
I think there's some coaches that we can see who was OCS, so they're Latvia and Brazil, and God, as a coach, I think it's really important that you can emphasise with your sailor, because they wouldn't want to pick up a black flag, would they?
No,
I do
not.
see the occasional coach shouting at the sailor, and you think, well, the poor sailor, they didn't want to get that black flag. So a bit of understanding there. But my heart goes out because, you know, they're doing their best, and, you know, to pick up any sort of letters on the scoreline isn't good. But I think we've got some. We're still waiting for the restart. So I think we've got an interview with another one of the race winners.
Nela, well done. You just won the previous female IFL Youth race. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I had a good start, so everything went well.
Perfect. Can you please give us some insights from the water? How are the conditions actually out there on the race course?
The conditions look amazing. It's like, it's honestly hard to say, but maybe 14 to 16 knots. Like, it's really good.
Perfect. How is the heartbeat doing and the adrenaline level?
It's quite high, but I'm trying to stay calm, so yeah, it's good.
Perfect. Good luck. Thank you so much, and all the best for the next day.
Thank you very much.
We we still have a general recall flag flying. So
I think the race committee or race officials, they're trying to write down or put in the numbers or the nation's letters.
Yeah, I think because it's one sailor per nation, they can just write down the country
Numbers,
the country
country
code.
So yeah, we can see the wind now. We got 14 to 16 knots of southerly wind.
Yeah, nice.
Very flat
aura.
water. Yeah, nice weather. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, 28
conditions.
degrees.
This is what Garda's famous for with your afternoons.
And everywhere we walk, not only this, like the whole area, descended on how many.
Time for a chat.
Apprenticeship?
I hope so.
Yeah. While we are waiting, there's always like a lot of chat, and then girls like to gossip a little bit, and then
even between races, Lily.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I think is that
Switzerland, Denmark, Turkey, Tunisia. I think it's 8 in total.
Yeah, so when we say, you
Wow.
can't win a championships on day one, you can lose it, and picking up that early.
So we
black
will have
flag.
a lot less win board in the next.
The start line is going to look empty. So I imagine we're going to go into the start sequence relatively soon. They're just giving the sailors the opportunity to see if they were over. If they're over, they are not allowed to start in the next race. In fact, there'll be a DNE if they did so, and that's a lot of pressure, because it means that they can't really have any more bad races. Because sailing, it's a consistency sport, and with these conditions, a good start, or rather, it's the position at Mark 1, isn't it? Is so important.
And then for those who are over, probably it will be a quite hard wait, because they still need to do the 4th race.
And I
the
would say with the IQ foil slalom format, it won't be as long a race as some fleets would be.
But waiting for the other fleet to start and finish, it will be at least half an hour wait for them.
If you're going to get a black flag, get it in the last race. But I didn't say that. At least you get an early shower. I didn't say that at all. This is not being recorded. But the way it works now, I still think that the remaining boards will probably be more hesitant, because they're guaranteed a pretty good position, and you wouldn't want to be black flagged on the 2nd restart. I think it's that tourist boat again.
Lake Garda is such a wonderful paradise for holiday takers, right? Everywhere we go, apart from those sailing communities, we see so many people coming here it's also paradise for cycling, paradise for rock climbing, so many great mountains and then cliffs to climb.
Yeah, I hope the sailors do manage to take advantage of the full experience, not just the racing.
Yeah.
And I think that's very much important for the young sailors who are going to go on to Olympic campaigns, that to enjoy the journey and to enjoy the process. It's not purely about the destination, but getting there. And that's why I say this, you've got to want to take the cover off in the morning. Got to want to take the cover off. Oh no, I guess you probably have covers on the on the foils, etc. as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have those racks where everything's kept indoors. Here you couldn't ask for a better boat park, where they're just meters from the water, and we're into the final 2 minutes before the start. So hopefully that pleasure visual will be right out the way in those waves, and I think probably 20 seconds to go, we're going to see that lineup and a bit more of a hesitant fleet.
So if we see those boards tack into port around 30 seconds, 1 minute is about the time to start sailing.
I can't help but notice just how many kites there are in the background. This is a very new part of the sport, and I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. So both the kite
really
and
high speed, another foiling class.
Both the kite and the IQ foil will make their first experience in Paris 2024 Games. So, and then the kite is the fastest sport of all Olympic sports. So that's
amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult from the coaching perspective that people have to have faster ribs because they can't keep up with their sailors.
Well, for this event, the coaches of the kite surfers, they're not allowed to go on the water.
They're going to really struggle to see. You have to really remember where your kite was, because if you're looking up into the sun, they're all going to look pretty similar. We have the luxury here in the studio that we're going to have a really good view of what's going on. But it's interesting you say that. So the IQ foil, it's the first time at Olympics, kite surfing at Olympics, but actually in a way it's the first time at Olympics for the 470, because the 470 will be the first time as a mixed class.
Yeah.
So by definition, none of the teams will have ever sailed together at Olympic Games. In case people are just joining us, the starting sequence has been cancelled, so we're reminiscing and reminiscing about the Olympic Games. And then even the NACRA is now changed so that in nearly all conditions we're full foiling. Just a very slight change to the class and the way that the foils work. I mean, they're now foiling both up and downwind, so that's hardly slow. So you think years ago we thought the 49er was just the fastest thing at the Olympics, and now that's a medium speedboat. But it's not about the speed, it's about the racing, and I think we're so lucky to have such a broad spectrum of the sport. And I know a lot of people who do several different aspects. It wasn't unusual actually to see the coaches carrying kite surfing equipment in their bags, but the sailors now, we've got a postponement for the start, so it's at least a minute before the sequence starts. You can see the AP flag, the pennant at the back above the orange flag. It's red, white, red. That is postponed. So I think to me it looks like there's a fairly solid 50 knots. So I think the wind has probably clocked round again and facilitate the need for a slight change of course.
It's not too bad for the coaches. They are on a beautiful classic yacht.
Well, I'm not going to tell you who said it to me, but one of the coaches did tell me it felt remarkably like a holiday.
Oh.
And I'm not going to tell you who told me that, but I was teasing him, and he said, "Well, I can't really do much work." So there we go. I guess you need to have a good hand signals or good shouting to communicate with your sailor, and it's good the emerging nations. Yeah, those emerging nation sailors, it's good in a way they get that little bit more support, because just to level the playing field, so they get a few more coach days. But yeah I mean this it'll be just a few minutes because there's a bit of a wind shift, and they reset the course and off we go again. And for such an important competition, it's worth taking the time to get it right. I mean, when we do our club racing on a Wednesday evening, it's possibly more about, you know, a beer and a dinner and a social, so people don't worry if the windward mark isn't exactly to windward. But this is very good racing. So we've had a few races now, Lily. So what do you think? Time to look at the rankings?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Because I can't keep up with the maths already. Oh, actually, Italy should have been an easy one so far. But you'll see the regatta will be relatively high point scoring purely because of the number of races.
Yeah, they have 18 races scheduled for the whole event, whereas the boat has 9 races.
And I personally think that's much better than the bad old days of one race a day and it lasting 2 hours, because just whoever was fastest would win, and it was more wearing weight jackets and a stamina competition. It's fast, it's furious, and I hope people at home are enjoying it just as much as we are. So can we have the other rankings up now? And again, we have Italy at the top. But as they sailors quite rightly say, there is a lot more racing to come, and one of the big things will be just to keep away from having a discard, to keep your worst score as good as possible, and that just takes the pressure off. And the influence of these black flags, it could be regatta changing. Potentially somebody could pick up 2 black flags today, and that makes the whole competition really difficult going forward. And I think one of the reasons for resetting the course, they obviously need to reset the line, because if the line is very biased, the chance of a general recall again it becomes very high. But they have epic conditions to sail in, and I'm sure they're quite happy to have a small wait for a fairer race.
like those fast boards, like all the competitors, they need to wear helmet, right, for
Very
safety.
sensible.
For safety.
We wear a helmet when you
precaution.
cycle, so you should definitely have one on the board.
Yeah, yeah. Almost all foiling classes need
and the
that.
NACRA as well. It's
Yeah.
important to protect the hat, and you know we don't want to learn these things the hard way from head injuries and so on. Actually, with these boats, we have a knife on board, etc., to avoid entrapment. And it's it's the very, very best sailors of this age group in the world. But if you're unlucky and you get hit on the head, you get hit on the head. So I think that's a important thing, and actually to have wetsuits that are more resistant, so to foil strike, etc., just to protect the athletes. So the athletes are probably getting a bruise.
AP flag down.
Oh, very
so
observant. So
expecting
we're getting close. So that means less than 60 seconds to start
less
off the
waiting.
sequence. It doesn't look the most comfortable to be waiting.
Yeah, for them they need to stand all the time. So that's why for the windsurfer they actually have a shorter racing time compared with the boats. And not to mention the slalom, they only have 4 minutes target time.
Yeah, but they'll be very quick to sail in and sail out. And I just think now we're getting towards the end of the day, and the sailors will probably feel a bit more comfortable with the conditions, and that's possibly why they were pushing harder. That and the increased wind strength, and hence the OCS. I think it's quite interesting just to have a little chat about your experience of the Youth Worlds. You said it's probably your second most memorable event. So could you just tell us what were your fondest memories of doing a Youth Worlds? Because this might ring true to some of the young sailors.
So back in 2005, it was held in Busan, Korea. And China, it's the first time China's going to send a youth sailor to do the Youth Sailing World Championships. And then for us, it's such a new experience. Before that, we don't actually know this event like this existing. So we're a little bit backward compared with the other European countries. And then because it was laser radio class, and at that time I was still sailing Europe, which is a former Olympic class for women single-handed dinghy. And then as I was sailing Europe and then the switch, learning that I'm going to do the event, and then I got 1 week to train beforehand. So not in the perfect world in terms of preparation.
Not even knowing how to rig the boat at start.
Yeah. So luckily I got those laser guys who taught me, giving me some tips.
Sailing is a friendly sport.
Yeah. And then once I arrived, I just couldn't help enjoying it. It's because I grown up from sailing the Optimist, and then it's sort of a similar feeling, staying all together in a hotel, eating together.
Team feeling.
Whereas nowadays, probably later on during Olympic campaign, that's not the case anymore. Like all the teams staying separately. Now back to the race course.
Yeah, we have less than a minute to go, so we saw them all go off on starboard, so they'll be making their final turn and approach. And I just want to put a quick Jon Emmett top tip in there. And actually, one of the best ways of improving your sailing is undoubtedly to go to high-level international competition, because you will learn so much from competing against the best sailors at the world, rather than just sticking to your home club or your home country. But 20 seconds to go. This is when the pressure comes, and I still think that windward position and the ability to roll is really important. It does feel that the fleeter is a little bit forward, so stand by for the final pump.
Oh, Thailand, the most windward board.
You know, it's really hard to tell who's over or not. It all happens so quickly. Thank goodness for technology. But it felt to me the Dutch, and I think it was actually, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the Dutch sailors had a big swim earlier. So sometimes you can use that disappointment to come back and push yourself even harder. But there does feel to be a gap, and you know, for Poland there, it'll be interesting to see if they can get up to the mark. But these sailors will know their time on distance really well, because it's not actually about getting to the mark first, it's about leading away from the mark first. That's textbook, and he's off, and we can see quite a few of those ribs there. They're watching that Mark 1 rounding, And I just think that the board in control here can choose when to jibe. I think there's enough space there that they can choose, and we get this situation where it almost looks like jibing on the whistle.
Yeah, looking at the top 3 nations, the Netherlands, France and Poland, they are all traditionally strong team for those windsurfers.
Well, I think success breeds success, and if you have a good program, when your sailors come through and they win medals, and then when they retire, they can come back and coach the other sailors and literally tell them how to win medals, because unless you've performed at a high level yourself or coached at a high level yourself, it's sometimes hard to understand exactly what that requirement is. Now, the situation we've had with the Dutch is they've had a whole series of squads where in windsurfing they've always come to the fore, and there's examples of that in many classes like the British or Australian ILCA programs, and they just keep that continuity, because if you have 4 or 5 fast boats from a country who can train together, then you can have complete control over your program, whereas smaller nations probably have to work together or share a coach, etc., to get that program. But these guys are neck and neck. In fact,
for quite some time.
Maybe there were centimetres between them at that point, and you know, a little touch could be disastrous, and it doesn't matter actually if you're on the right or the wrong. If you end up having a crash, it's your race.
It would be very painful.
But
so
they
Dutch
are pushing really hard.
Aged 17, and this is his 3rd World Championship. And then highest is a 6. I'm sure he's aiming for a podium finish this time.
This is one of the things, as a coach, we tend not to talk about the result.
Distance.
The result takes care of it. So you talk about the process, but I'm sure they would have had that on their mind. But the problem is there will be 10 sailors in every class who say they want to be on the podium, and there's only 3 spots. So I think by the time we get to Thursday, it will be pretty clear.
Yeah.
And already today, there's a few sailors who've been standout, and that tiny difference in boat speed, it makes you a tactical genius. But these guys are fighting, and it almost feels like the rest of the fleet has been left behind. Is that 200 meters, Lily? Wow.
So another win for the Dutch.
Yeah, that's a proper lead for those two. I actually think the Finnish boat probably has quite a hard time doing the scoring.
Well, I think now it's all electronics, isn't it?
I'm sure they have video cameras on it, but
still, another drone.
Well, these boats are obviously all tracked,
yeah,
which is how we're getting this data, and I think that's another thing which we've got in modern sailboat basing that I really enjoy, and it's just amazing how much going on. Can you see the Nacras in the background?
Yes, yeah. So the Nacras meant to or scheduled to start from 3 p.m. this afternoon after the ILCAs. Look at those smiles after winning a race. It's such a great sense of achievement and sensation.
I mean, I could sit here all day watching the racing, but I think they'll probably turn us off at some point. But I mean, that's the situation. 5 race course areas, racing nearly all the time, and here comes the recap. So Dutch guy just rolling over most of the rivals. And I think the physicality of the body pump, it still makes a big difference.
Yeah.
People who thought there'd be less pumping in... sorry, got another race coming up. I was just saying, you know, those people who thought there wasn't going to be pumping in foiling. Yeah, that wasn't correct. The harder you work, the faster you go in sailing as soon as we get to medium conditions. So this will actually be our last race. I'll be quite sad to go.
Yeah.
I think we've learned a lot, and yeah, tomorrow, similar conditions, and people will be dialed in, and it will be interesting to sit around the table at night and see what people have to say. It's always nervousness before the first race, but now the competition has started, the hard work begins, and with 30 seconds to go, in a way, the race is already underway.
So now we are showing you the IQ for your youth men's race 3 B start. The final 15 seconds, and then
remember,
this will be
black flag again.
Yeah, and this will be the final race we have for today's live streaming. Hope you enjoyed so far. Final.
And they're almost in a line before then. It's who gets the pump at the right time, and it looks really close at the top end of the line there. Really close.
Hong Kong's leading.
And USA
Italian.
working, and no surprise to see Italy and Israel up there
again. They just need to get the first efficient pumping, and then to have a good positioning.
So now it's all about that line to the next mark, and the rich will get richer. Those boats, those boards which are in clean air. So Spain was good position, but just getting rolled over. And the boats in the top line, it's like a motorway where they're in the overtaking line. So these three boards, I think they have the ability to extend. But actually, no, there's Italy's quite on the tail. And I do wonder if now it's a bit windier, in a way,
he chooses
it makes the racing
just to driving
closer.
first.
Well, the issue is you can't overtake somebody by following them.
No.
And actually, in this breeze, it looks like Italy has done a really, really good job. Now, the difficulty, well, obviously, when he puts in the jibe, he will be coming across and he will be the giveaway boat on port. But actually, the first person into that new pressure, he made a big gap. So it will be interesting when Estonia and Italy come together, or Croatia and Italy come together. So what he wants now is obviously just a little bit more pressure, or for the shift, and then he can choose his time to come back. But these are really high pressure moves, and it feels like if you go too far out, then you're very vulnerable to boards coming on the inside of you.
Yeah.
So I think that was too far.
So now Spanish leading, and then Estonia. Oh, they're so close.
But they're
all
so close.
Yeah, all too playful.
And that's what we want, you know. Really, really close racing, and a worthy champion. Estonia is actually looking quite good there.
That's
I mean,
also
they're almost in a line
together, overlap.
And this pump, they're fighting. But Estonia can gap off, in control, and will go when they want.
Ooh, he's very dominant, isn't he?
But there's still much pressure. There's four. Oh, and there's a splashdown. I should really find out what the proper word is. and that's changing.
The final jobbing mark has the most incident.
Well, I think there's the most pressure. I think there's a very large turn. You saw how they climbed.
Yeah.
The reason they climbed going into the mark is so that they had a bit of space to do the bear away and a wide entry, tight exit. And there's just more wind. I mean, you can just see the white horses are everywhere. But yeah, Estonia, they close it out very nicely. And I wondered if that was Italy who lost the rig. It's a game of spot the difference, but the racing, to me, Lily, it seems to be getting closer.
Yeah, as you put it, that is the stronger wind, and maybe it's more consistent for them to foil, but at the same time, they still like jump into the water after drive, after
There's the race winner there, happy and relaxed. Thumbs up.
They seem to
Good
be
job.
very familiar with those drones already.
Well, they did the IQ foil
for a long time.
Yeah. The IQ foil. So we've got a quick race recap of the start.
Wow.
And it was just so close. I think it's important if those boats jibe early, you know, it's the high risk, high reward strategy. When's the appropriate time to go for that?
Well, this is the closest race we have for today.
I don't know about you. I think even my heart rate's gone up just watching.
Yes, some people used to ask, as a competing sailor or as a coach, who's more nervous?
It's worse. I can tell you, it's worse for the coach because we can't work hard to go faster. So we get all the adrenaline, but none of the exercise. That's where all my hair went. I'm just trying to see who was the boat, who lost their rig. Oh, it's all so quick. It's all so quick. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Comments really very welcome, and please do share the video with all your friends, And if you've enjoyed the content, please like it. And if you haven't enjoyed the content, please like it as well.
Yeah.
But we're trying to give you a little recap before we close off today. But we're going to have live stream every single day, and we would just love you to join us and tell us who you're supporting. Tell us who you think's going to win, who's going to be top nation, and tell us any sailors or, well, any individuals you'd like us to try and interview, and we'll get Greta on the case.
And even tell us which class you would like to see. We may well persuade the director to showcase the class for tomorrow's live streaming.
I mean, it's hard not to get completely
just look at this
with
scene.
Beauty.
Wow.
Would you like to be in a NACRA rather than sat on the sofa?
Like looking at this picture, I feel really want to climb those mountains and then overlooking downwards of those boats, like just little tiny boats on the lake.
We better go pretty early in the morning, because if we're not here at 1:45, we'll be in lots of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also not just the sailing paradise, and all the sailors, or many sailors, they will bring their bikes here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
To cycle in the morning when there's more calm, and then make the most use of in the afternoon to sail and foiling.
Well, I guess that's goodbye from us.
Yeah.
We hope to see you all tomorrow, and time for the highlight.
Yeah. See you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.
Bye.